Hey guys, so here I am. One of the things I mentioned at the leader celebration, but didn't have the opportunity to do just due to lack of time, was that I was wanting to share with you guys that if I had time, I would love to be able to share with each of you I suppose, what I've seen in you, how much I admire you as leaders, and also, I suppose, in some respects, and sometimes just what I wanted to speak over you guys moving forward. And so I thought I'd just shoot a video because, to be honest, I'm not a great writer. I always take too long to try and work out what to say, but as you guys probably know, when I start to speak, you can sometimes just not stop me. So I wanted to basically spend the next 90 minutes-ish. Gosh, that's an intimidating prospect. Next 90 minutes-ish, just going through each of you guys one by one and sharing things that I really appreciate about you, the things that I hope that others see in you as well. And to be honest, I haven't decided whether I'm going to split this so it's just sharing with you or whether it's going to be a grand kind of let everyone in on Gavin's thoughts type deal, but I suppose I'll figure that out depending on what I say. So that's the start point, and we'll see how we go. Okay, so here we go. Number one, Adam. What can I say about Adam? Gosh, what a servant heart. The way that you just give and give, your self-sacrifice, serving in the cafe, and you're so humble in the way that you serve. You'll always do so much more behind the scenes than people will ever see up front, and I really, truly admire that about you, Adam. Whether I'm catching you in the hallways early morning when you're vacuuming, or whether it's just straight after CY, after you no doubt you've had a big day and yet you're still there delivering chips time after time. I just want you to know that God sees your servant heart. He loves who you are and the way that you give of yourself with such generosity and just little desire for personal glory. So well done, mate. It's been great having you on team. Alec. I think some of my most memorable moments of you, Alec, have been seeing you teach. I mean, there's no doubt that you're a talented performer, you're a great worship leader, but I must admit, every single time you stop in the middle of the set just to share a thought or a word from scripture, that time I came to Donvale and you shared from up the front and you used the chair, which was, that was a cool moment for me. But every single time I hear you speak and teach, you truly do bring profound revelation in what you say. It does cause me to stop. And not many people cause me to stop. And so I just want you to know that you have a great teaching gift. People respect you because they see how you live your life and they see how you so openly demonstrate your faith. And my prayer is that you'll just continue to grow even more and more in influence and leadership, that more people would get one-on-one time with you. Because I think that in as much as you're great at delivering to the large groups of people, there are some deep and profound work that you can do in those intimate conversations that sometimes I've been a part of, but I have no doubt have occurred far beyond what I've been able to see. And so just keep giving, mate. Just keep giving. And people will see that and admire that. And I know God's got great stuff in store for your future, that's for sure. Alex Mazzei. Alex, you might be one that I didn't get as much time to catch up with, and I wish I got more time to catch up with. Because it's so obvious how much your girls like you, how much they love you and they care for you and are so dedicated and they want you to be their leader. There's nothing that would keep them from that. And to be honest, I don't know what kind of magic you conjure over them, but I'm pretty sure it's simply the magic of love, care and acceptance. And you're never one to speak out critically. Even when you deliver feedback, it's always with such grace. When you look for assistance, you do it with such gentleness. And I want you to know that that is often quite rare. And that will serve you so well, not just in youth leadership, but also in many other areas of life, in your workplace and in relationships. That is who you are. And I once again, I really admire that. Thank you for the way that you've given so much when your group has been large, when you've had too many girls, when you've had to take other groups. You're always willing to step up, and I just never hear a word of complaint. And perhaps sometimes I wish I did, because maybe I could have jumped on things a little earlier and got them sorted for you. But once again, it's just that generous spirit that you continue to give, and I know that your girls will reflect that heart. You might be seeing early stages of that, you might see more of that, perhaps even after you finish leading, who knows, but at the same time, just know that what you've sown in those girls is deeply profound, and never underestimate the power of a gentle word. Or, what I meant to say was a gentle word. Never underestimate the power of a gentle word, because you bring those words, and it's often those gentle words that, while they may not slap someone in the face, they find the soft soil in people's hearts, and that can make all the difference to someone in need. Allan Wong. Al, my man. Didn't get to see much this year, bro, to be honest, but what I do really love is every time we have a conversation, I hear the delight and your passion for people. That's really clear. I love that you take genuine interest in the lives of others. Actually, that's probably a better way of putting it. You take genuine interest in the lives of others, even in those mundane things. And you never, even in a conversation, even if someone's just telling a really boring story, it's almost like you never lose interest. I don't know if you even see that in yourself, but I've seen that. And that makes you someone who is incredible at welcoming people. I think that you've got a kind of a gift of hospitality. I don't know whether you see that in yourself, but I feel like you've got a gift for hospitality, and that will become more and more realised as time goes on. I encourage you to push into that and pray into that and see how God uses that. Continue to make wise decisions for Him and continue to open up your arms to people in need. I just think that there's going to be some profound work that God does through you as you do that. So yeah, good job, bro. Amos, my man, Amos. Oh, mate, what can I say? You're the guy who always calls me pastor. And I remember thinking at one point or another, I'm like, oh, should I tell Amos not to call me pastor? Because, I'm not that big of a deal. But at the same time, I never got around to it. And I suppose there's something kind of special about the kind of respect that title has always given me. And I just want to honour that. I want to honour you for your honouring of leaders. Not only your peer leaders, but also just those in spiritual leadership over you. I want to thank you for your dedication to really wrestle truth to the ground. That's what you do. My prayer for you was that you'll continue to grow in understanding. You'll continue to find unique expression of your faith in worship and in word. And I just have this image of this idea of open hands, and I don't know exactly what the future holds for you or what your exact plans are. We managed to sit down a couple of times and kind of nut through different kind of theological issues and whatnot, but at the same time, I just get this image of open hands. I feel like this next season for you in your life is going to be a season where there's going to be an increased generosity in your understanding of yourself and others. And I don't know what that looks like, but I just kind of feel like you're going to encounter things that you've never encountered before, but I just want to encourage you, rather than resisting them, I want to encourage you to push in, to listen well, as Jesus says, to have ears to hear. And there might be some things that you take and there might be some things that you reject, and that's totally okay. But once again, I just love your heart, your dedication, your desire and your pursuit of Jesus and all that you do. Yeah, great job, mate. Legs, Andrew Bialecki. Let's see, when did we first meet? I think we caught each other after a 6 p.m. service. And I tell you what was really cool. What I love is you're one of the few people, there was a few of us, but there was a few people who engaged in scripture crunching when we ran that back before the 6 p.m. service. And what I loved is that you kept coming back to scripture crunching, and maybe we were there with Rick and Ash and a couple others. I'd love the way that you would bring new insights into the text, and you wouldn't always be the kind of the infielder who would jump in with the solution straight away, but it's almost like you'd sit back and you'd wait and you'd see what other people were saying, and you'd often kind of capture these threads from other people and kind of weave them into a truth that was probably more profound than any of the other individual concepts themselves. Not many people can do that, and it's this kind of thing that is a gift, but it's also a gift that can be exercised and grown. And my hope is that as you study scripture, as you continue to engage in that way, as you engage in conversations in small groups and in life groups and wherever it is that you choose to place your hand, maybe in sporting teams, that capacity for discernment, that waiting and then delivering will just increase all the more. Well done on preaching this year, getting up on the platform, being fresh. You will only get better over time, I can guarantee it. As someone who was freaking out from my first sermons, mate, you have come such a long way in such a short time already, and you're only going to grow even more, so continue to stir that gift of teaching. Discover new ways to express those truths so that others can take hold of them and lives be transformed in the process. Thanks for all the great conversations that we've been able to have. It's been good to be able to spend probably more time with you than most. Not just because I was able to, not actually because I was able to make myself available, but because you chose to push in. And not in a confrontational way, but you pushed in into those spaces where I already were. And there's no greater gift than that for a leader than to have people meet you where you're at, even when you're really supposed to be meeting them where they're at. And so it's been great journeying with you, mate, for these last few years. In case you're wondering, I've got like all your names written down here, so that's why I keep going down. Drew, Andrew Law. To be honest, mate, we haven't had many one-on-one conversations. I reckon most of our conversations have probably been after youth, where I kind of go, hey, how'd your boys go? Or maybe after a service or before a service or something like that. I don't exactly know. We haven't really had many sit-down conversations. But I want to say this. I see the way that you love M, and that says a lot about who you are. I see the way that you love your family, and that says a lot about who you are. I see the fun that you have with your mates and with the other guys and with your boys, and that says a lot about who you are. And love and fun over time are some of the most profound gifts that you can bring any family or any community. And so I just want to encourage you to keep on doing just that. Keep on loving well, keep on having fun well, keep on poking fun, keep on taking just, little pictures of people when they're on laptops doing stuff that makes them look creepy, just like you did at the Scav Hunt this year. Well done, sir, well done. But just know that your actions they speak far beyond even your words. And as your words continue to get more profound, and as your words continue to hit even better soil in people's lives than they already are, even though I know they already are, I just know that first and foremost, your best and greatest example of who Jesus is going to be in your life and the way that you live. So get married, and may your marriage actually be a really powerful illustration to the world of the love of God too. Good stuff, bro. Well done. Andy Simpson. I could speak for hours on about Andy Simpson. We go way back. I remember when we first met, it was at that, what was it? The election party, I believe it was called. Mate, like seriously, who goes to an election party? Apparently desperate people like Migs and myself who were keen to get into community. But I remember when we went to your election party and you were just a crazy liberal guy who was saying inappropriate things. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I wonder if I could actually get along with this guy. And there was nothing on the ministry kind of front at that particular point in time. But I just remember you were just that bit quirky. And to be honest, you still are. But I've said it once and I've said it 1,000 times again. I'll say it publicly and I'll say it privately in my prayers. But mate, we know that you have that incredible pastoral heart. You have far more pastoral heart than I ever will. The kind of things that I have to train myself to do come naturally to you. And yes, you're a 6. And so that means that you're loyal. And yes, that has some neg effects as well. But at the same time, mate, your loyalty to Qantas, the Liberal Party, but most of all, to people, and to Crossway as a whole is something that is admired. I admire it. There aren't many people who go through ministry and sustain it long term by choice. And you could be one of those people. You already are one of those people, but I say could be because I see your legacy as being truly long term. Now, I don't know whether that's a crossway, but wherever it is, you choose to be loyal to people. I want to thank you for the love and the way that you invest in people, in leaders. I want to thank you for the way that you love them, that care for them. I want to thank you for the comedic joy that you bring. Yes, it's sometimes inappropriate, but most of the time it's absolutely hilarious to the team. I will miss that. In as much as, yeah, it kind of rubs sometimes, I will genuinely miss that. And I just want to, I'll be praying for you and Cadence for all the best in the way that you navigate what is probably the most difficult demographic within the life of any church anywhere, which is young adults. Don't let people look down on you, please. Not just because you're young, but simply because you're working with young adults. Don't let anyone look down on you, mate. That is the hardest gig imaginable. No one knows what to do. Even the best in the world don't know what to do. And the fact that you're putting yourself in that space, you're trying things, is honourable in and of itself. So thanks for the opportunity to serve alongside you. Thanks for the many great conversations behind closed doors as well, where we've been able to actually tap into the heart of people, where you've given me insights into people's journeys, obviously remaining confidential. Don't let anyone think that you haven't remained confidential, but tapping into the hearts of people and teaching me how to listen well, how to respond with grace and truth. Yeah. Anna Brokenshire. We're 15 minutes in, guys. Can you believe this? We're 15 minutes in. Anna Brokenshire. I remember when I first met you, Anna. It was when I first started. I'm pretty sure this is when I first started Crossway 6 years ago. We were having social nights. You were in Anna Brokenshire's group, I believe. No, I just said Anna Brokenshire. Anna Maycock at the time's group. And you guys were having some fun at, I think it was at her house, cooking and whatnot. I remember I rocked up and knocked on the door, and I think it might have been Laura Farrow who opened it initially, but I remember you were all definitely in on this deal. And I remember you opening the door and being part of this massive practical joke where you basically denied that you were part of the youth group and that I had the wrong house. Well done, guys. That was actually a great way to break me in. I remember stepping away from the house, kind of walking back and going, I'm sure that that is the address. And so I head back in, and of course you guys were all around the door and you had lots of fun laughing at me. It was a really good way to break me in. Anna, and I'm not the only one to say this, you know this already, but I want to say it because it's totally true. You bring joy. You bring joy to conversations, you bring joy to relationships, but at the same time, it's amazing how you can have these incredible joy moments, but then you kind of almost pause and you think, and then you deliver something that has this kind of depth to it. And it's almost like it kind of comes from left field. It almost feels like a bit of a jazz musician. It's like, it's kind of pounding along, it's bringing delight, it's kind of quirky, you don't know where it's going, and then there's this kind of deep, low kind of like line, and you're just like, whoa, that just kind of hit the mark. Where did that come from? And in your joy, you bring this kind of wow factor, but in your depth, you also hit the mark. And that's what makes you a great leader. Your devotion to people. The way that you cared for those guys on the margins, the Forest Hill guys, they didn't give you any love back, but you just kept on loving them. Not every leader can do that. You have a stamina to do that I don't have. And the way that you love people unashamedly, the way that you love people without requiring them earning it, is something that I truly admire. It's been great to see you grow as a leader. I know you're away for different stints on YWAM and whatnot, and you're doing powerful work there as well. Just know that you are an evangelist at heart, and I'm sure you already know that as well. But your evangelism, what is evangelism? It's meaning bringing the good news. And you bring the good news not just in what you say, but also in the way that you act, the hope that you give, the life that you speak over others. Continue to be the great encourager that you are. It has been a pleasure serving alongside you, leading you through that 1 year, but also serving alongside you. Anna Wong. It's been great. It's been great having you in Huddle. I feel like in Huddle I've learnt more about you, more about how you tick and what makes you think. And it's been a pleasure inviting you into that space. Anna, you have an incredible capacity far beyond what I think you have. and you are a leader of leaders, whether you recognize it or not. I feel like for you, it's just a matter of simply embracing it. I just realized that I've kind of gone into challenge mode, which is kind of what I normally do for you for some reason, but at the same time, you keep coming back. So I'm just going to lay it out. I want to thank you for the many great conversations we've been able to have, not just in regard to youth, but also just in regard to life. I know it's in more recent times, but it was great, like, sitting back at Cafe Oggy, just kind of wrestling through some issues, wrestling through theological issues and how to deal with people and kind of questions around, family and friends and faith and all these great things. I love those conversations because you bring a real insight. You have this great insight into yourself, great self-reflective skills, and you carry so much capacity and so much that I believe that God wants you to share with others. The first person you'll doubt is yourself, not the other people around you. I haven't doubted you, and I think that you've got so much to offer in the workplace, most certainly. I love the fact that you in your physio staff, I love the fact that you continue to work in sporting clubs and that kind of stuff, and bring your healing and bringing order out of the chaos type work, kingdom work, into those environments. I don't know where your most profound influence is going to be, whether it's going to be in a church setting or whether it's going to be external, but I know that it's going to be profound in both those settings. Man, there's so much I could say, but I don't have time. I'm already at 20 minutes and 15 seconds, and I haven't even got through all the A's yet. That's cool though, hey? Here we go. Annabelle. I reckon you must have had some of the craziest girls that I've seen in the history of CY, Surge, whatever it was before. Seriously, you took on those Year 7 girls and they were the crazy bunch. And yet you kind of called them to order. And I know when I say that, you're like, there's no way I called them to order. But you did call them to order. You called them to order in those profound moments that needed it. And yes, they were crazy all the other times, but you know what? They needed someone like you to be able to laugh with them and to be able to kind of keep them in check at the same time, to be able to be creative. And you are a creative person, not just in terms of your dance and choreography and that kind of thing. Oh man, the flies are coming out. But seriously, Annabelle, what I love is that I feel like you've got this kind of this kind of training that you never received from me, or perhaps even never received from Crossover. It's almost like you got this level of training that kind of underlies, or is it like an underlay in all that you do? And I just I love that because you continue to step up, and it's almost like when I need you to do something, or when you need to control a group, or when someone else needs assistance or whatever it might be, it's almost like I know that there's this resource that you can tap into, that God wants to use to lead others. And so well done on navigating some of the toughest girls in your small group. You will see the fruit of that in time. You may not see, maybe you'll see some of that now, but you'll see some of that in time, and that's exciting. I'm getting a call, so I'm just going to pause this in case I lose everything. So here I am back again. Got the phone call. Sunset yesterday, couldn't keep on going, so that's all right. We won't do it in 90 minutes. What we'll do is we'll do it in kind of 20-minute blocks. That's at least the plan. So I'm going to continue on. So next person is Ben Mitchell. What can I say about Ben? Mate, I really respect the way that you have taken your boys who have been and who were pretty crazy, filled with energy, and have brought such a peace in the way that you lead those guys. And I think it comes from that heart of prayer that we all see and we all respect. And I remember many times just kind of chatting with you, and whether it be down the front or otherwise, just kind of with your heart to elevate prayer within the life of our community. And I think that reflects not only in your own prayer practices, but also just in the way that you lead your boys. It actually reminds me a little bit of Sam Common, who is another guy I really respect a lot and admired a lot when he was youth leading back in his day. But Ben, you carry just this gentleness, but at the same time this really sporty nature that allows you to connect with these guys in a profound way. I really admire that, and so I just want to encourage you just to keep on pursuing and being an advocate for prayer within the life of our ministry, because we need more people to pursue those things. It's been a pleasure to serve alongside you, mate. Ben Stephenson, Suv. I reckon I'm one of the few people who actually calls you Suv, and most people don't understand why, and to a certain extent I actually don't understand why either. But mate, it has been an absolute pleasure serving alongside you. I remember when, it's got to not be easy being the PK of the big boss at Crossway. And what I've loved is the way that you managed to forge your own identity and your own sense of who you are and what ministry looks like, particularly in time at Forest Hill. Mate, you are just the most welcoming guy. We all see it. You get alongside people, whether they're on the margins or they're kind of dead center. You just have this way of making people feel welcome and accepted, and I love that. I love that about you. I love the fact that you're creative. You love having a bit of fun. There's that bit of competition that kind of flows through, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter how things end up because we end up with having a real big laugh at the end anyway. And so, mate, I just want to continue to encourage you to keep stepping up in your leadership. You have an authority, you have a great capacity to kind of just bring things together at a moment's notice. But I also know that there's this kind of depth to you when you have this time to reflect and then kind of prepare and then deliver. You speak some profound truth. I still remember when you spoke at Ignite and did your sermon on Jonah. Like legit, I still have notes in my phone from that moment, and I'm always reminded of just some of the truths that you drew out of that text. And I remember in that moment, and this was what we're talking like 4, maybe even 5 years back, I remember looking and going, man, this guy has something deeply profound to offer. And so, mate, it's been a pleasure working alongside you, and I know the best is still yet to come. Britt Mazzei. Britt, I love your commitment to your girls, your commitment to CY and to Surge for the many years. Even though I know that you are working full time and it's a busy job and you have so many responsibilities, we've had a number of conversations I know at the end of each year kind of going, how can you commit this year? Is CY even possible? Is youth leading even possible? But what I love is the undertone of every single one of those conversations has always been, how can we actually do this so it works? There's never been this sense of like, it's just too much, I just can't do it. It's always been a question of how can we make this work? And I love the fact that you're willing to kind of engage in that way, because there's such a genuine love that you have for your girls and a commitment to them. And I know they haven't been the easiest group of girls, and we've had complex moments in group time, and friends inviting friends, and how do we manage this and all that kind of stuff along the way. But Britt, I love the fact that you can go to work and you can honour God with your work, and yet you can still rock up on a Friday night and give just that bit extra after a long week. I know the girls really, really appreciate that, and I really admire that as well. So continue to honour God in your work, Britt, but you've just done just a phenomenal job tracking with these girls, even when the going's been tough due to external factors. So Britt, yeah, just really, really well done. Cam Ensor. I remember when we sat down for your interview, what was it, the beginning of last year, or maybe it was toward the end of the year before, and you're from good stock. Like, we know the Ensor stock is good stock, but I hadn't really got to know you very much. You've been playing rugby or footy or any kind of sport where you're pretty much smashing it out of the park. But I remember sitting down with you, and I was like, man, this guy has this grace about his presence. Genuinely wants to serve, genuinely wants to be part and invest in young people, and I was like, I definitely want this guy on team. And I remember at the time, internally, I kind of had this little negotiation going on, and I was like, is this going to work? How can we navigate footy and CY leadership and that kind of stuff? Mate, I am so glad that you decided to join the team. I love the way that I've been able to see you just over this last year engage with the young guys, with the young boys, just playing down ball, just getting in their world. You have no idea the impact that just play alongside these guys is going to have. And I don't know what fruit you've seen this year, but at some point, the fruit of your investment and your relationship with these guys is going to just multiply. It's going to be far beyond what you expect. And so well done in continuing to rock up, even with these Year 7 guys who genuinely and often don't give you very much to work with. But what I've seen is your commitment to building relationship. And I know that faith and your own example is going to flow through you. And these guys are going to pick it up, and they're going to absolutely run with it. So well done. Love having you on team. And once again, I only get to see a snapshot of what God is going to do through you, but I know He's got great things in store. Celine, I love our rigorous conversations. There's this sense of you have such a passion for drawing the best out of a circumstance or out of people, and I almost love. There's something kind of that I admire around the kind of the frustration that you have when things don't go to plan, when the girls aren't kind of focusing, and you're kind of like, there's so much here to get, there's so much truth to glean. How come you guys just won't focus? And we have a laugh about that sometimes, but at the same time, it's that passion, it's that fervor that I'd never want to see you lose. And I know that you hold that same lens up to your own life as well. And what I love about that is it's actually an expression of your character, which is that you're going to treat yourself with that same lens first before you kind of ever would impose that on somebody else. And so I just want to continue to encourage you just to remain strong. Keep pursuing these girls, keep giving your best, because the way that you invest in these guys, we all have different kind of modes of engagement, but your commitment to truth and for these girls to truly realize and learn the art of gratefulness, and for you to be able to kind of sow in some deep truths into these girls is gonna be just incredible long term. I just want to encourage you to be who you are. Don't feel like you need to conform into the patterns of others. Just continue to pursue that kind of that truth and that justice. Actually, justice is the best word for it. With all that you have, justice in the volleyball court and justice at CY. And I know over time that justice and that pursuit of justice is going to be tempered in different ways. That's going to allow you new connections and new opportunities to emerge. But just never lose sight of Jesus in the midst of that justice. He wasn't afraid to go after what was right as well. And so honour him with your life in that way. I see it already. Chris Pilcher. So Chris, it's been awesome to be able to see you, to lead you for many years through CY or Surge at the time, and then to see you step up into new levels of leadership as time's gone on. One of the things that I love, and one of the things I've really seen about the way that you've grown, I think we've all seen in the way that you've grown, is you've always had this really deep, intimate pursuit of Jesus through your worship. I loved when we did those Pursuit of God nights and your willingness to step up and share and lead and just kind of go with what the Spirit was leading. And I love that because, and I really admire that. It's something that I wish I did and was able to do more of, and you, even as a young guy, you embodied that, and I love the way that you led the Surge senior community in that way. But one of the things I've really admired about even these last couple of years is you've been able to not only do that and maintain incredible integrity in the way that you lead in worship and that deep spirituality and that waiting on God, but you've also made your language, you've made the way that you lead accessible to others. Mate, your greatest impact will flow from your intimacy with Jesus, but your greatest impact will be the capacity for you to multiply that intimacy and how people can connect in that intimate way, and multiply that among others. And so just that ability to increase your accessibility has just been great. In the words and the language that you use, in the way that you're directive in your worship leading, it's been something that I've really appreciated. I know it's actually been the result of feedback, which once again gives you and demonstrates your teachability. Keep that teachable heart. That teachable heart's going to take you so far. Learn as much as you can from everyone you can. You already bring so much to the table. You bring that intimacy with God to the table, and while we all admire that, I also know that as you continue to step up, God's going to use you for greater levels of influence, and with that's going to come greater lessons that you're going to learn along the way. So well done, mate. I really appreciate your leadership in so many regards. And even also, side note, stepping in and leading group at the same time. You could have easily just done the worship leader thing, but you committed to relationships, you invest in those guys. That wasn't an easy entry, but you did it and you're doing it, and those guys admire you for it, so well done. All right, Conrad Chan. All right, hey, we're hitting up some media guys. Conrad, I love the fact that you kind of just snuck in at the media angle, and to be honest, we haven't had that many chats, but what I love, and this is true both at CY but also at camp this past camp, the thing that I remember about you, Conrad, is not only are you an incredible videographer and you're always willing to step up and do the camera stuff, I love the fact that at CY camp this year you took those flaming poi, like the flaming poi on the ropes, and you were just absolutely committed to learning how to do it well. Like, I mean, how many times did you hit yourself with those flaming poi? Like, you were hitting yourself in the legs, it was hilarious, but what I loved is you were absolutely committed to it, and you just wanted to get it right, and that once again, that teachability and the willingness to just endure, where other people would have thrown it away and kind of gone, I'll just leave these flaming point for someone else to do. You, Conrad, you are committed to not the word isn't professionalism. You're committed to doing things well, to seeing things through. That's what I wanted, to seeing things through, and I know that's that was at winter camp, but that's also reflective in the way that you lead as well. I know that whether it's a production side of things, or I hope through more investment in relationships as CY moves forward, you are committed to seeing things through to the end. And so don't lose that. It's an incredible characteristic as a leader. It's actually an incredible characteristics in this generation. And so, mate, just love seeing that, even just that little snapshot of your heart that I know the other guys are going to be incredibly blessed by as time goes on. All right, we're up to D. We're up to Danica. So Danica, I didn't really get to chat with you very much this year, but it was great seeing you lead alongside Shishang. And one of the things that I have always appreciated about you, Danica, and I've never really been able to kind of share it with you, and that's my bad. I haven't really been able to encourage you in this way. Hopefully I can do so now. Is there's a couple of things that I really admire about you, Danica. So number one is I love the way that you're always willing to step up and serve. And what I mean by that is it's very rare nowadays, to be honest, for people just to kind of take initiative and serve, to clean up, to do whatever needs to be done, pack away chairs, put up tables, whatever it needs to be done. Danica, I love the fact that you're always there and you're always willing to offer to how you can serve the ministry as a whole. And take that initiative. And so I just want you to know that I've seen that. I've seen that at the end of CY, you taking that extra effort, and it means so much. It truly does. The other thing that I admire about you, Danica, is just the way that you have such a gentleness with which you approach your girls, with which you approach conversations. And I just want to acknowledge that gentleness is not weakness. Gentleness is the capacity to actually engage with people in such a way that they feel welcome, comfortable, and safe. And there's nothing that our young people need more than to feel welcome, comfortable in a healthy way, and most importantly, safe. And so I just want you to know that that I've seen that, and that other people see that. Jesus had, at times, sometimes he was a bit harsh, but most of the time he engaged with people with especially those in need, actually, with a deep gentleness. And that was not a reflection of his lack of power. In fact, it was the opposite. It was the ability to hold power, significance, and influence, but also demonstrate that in a way that made people feel safe. And you do that, Danica, and you'll only do that more so as your influence increases over time. So just continue to do that. Oh, a couple of long names coming up. Phoon, you're up. Dan Phoon. Dan, we have some good times, don't we? Whether it's classic pranks or just having fun. I mean, I remember mate, I think I've got more video footage of you in my phone than most people. Whether it's, just lying in some cushions as the elevator opens, or kind of like, what else do we do? I can't even remember. Yeah, obviously classic pranks. I'm trying to think. Oh, of course, just exchanging text messages and that kind of stuff at was it Simpson's wedding? I think it was, and we tried to keep one-upping each other, and we ended up with kind of gifs of our faces and like different cutouts and different pieces with like rainbow background circling. You know what I'm talking about. Or actually, remember our text message exchange where we pretty much put hundreds and hundreds of different nationalities' flags and just kept sending them to each other. Let alone the fact of course our classic workplace. Poor guy. What was his name? I don't know, but you know who I'm talking about. The guy that we took a photo of one night, and he's been kind of changed over and over again. No one else is going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. They're saying, "Move on, Gavin. I don't have time for this." But Phoon, you know what I'm talking about, and I love having fun with you. You can ride the roof rack on the four-wheel drive anytime. That wasn't a euphemism. It's literal. So just go with that. Now, the other thing that I want to appreciate you and just acknowledge and that I admire about you, mate, is I've seen the way that you love your boys and you invest in relationship. And serious moment now, man. But sitting down with you, seeing how you have done coach training, seeing how committed you are to the one. Actually, that's what it is. Your commitment to the one is something that you carry. And you're going to carry that in your workplace, you're going to carry that in ministry, your commitment to the one. You know the stories of your boys. You know what they're going through because you ask the question and you're willing to listen. And the way that you do that, I really admire. I think that you're standout in terms of as a leader, in the way that you deeply invest in your boys, but you listen so well. You know exactly where they're at and you want to see them thrive. And you'll commit and you'll sacrifice in order to see that take place. And so well done, mate. Hopefully you come up and visit Alice. Really appreciate you, mate, all that you give. Keep investing in the one. Keep investing in the one. Dave Houghton. All right. Dave is my partner in crime. Mate, you've been serving for 12 years, just when we had our leaders celebration, just a bit back before. Like, you basically exceeded everyone else, and you always will in terms, I think, of longevity, mate. That's a tough record to beat. But you are my partner in crime, and you're the only guy who I think I've probably shed a tear in front of once, or maybe even twice. And even both those times, I remember I didn't know why, but I admire you so much. I admire the way that you have led worship, even though you haven't done that in more recent times at youth, but I admire the way you lead worship with a pastor's heart. And you just have this sensitivity to the Spirit, this sensitivity to what's going on in the room. You have a sensitivity to people's pain. You have a sensitivity to when people have felt betrayed or felt disconnected, and it's been a pleasure having you as part of Oikos, but more importantly, it's been a pleasure having you as one of my best friends ever. We will continue to come up with just ridiculous ideas that will ultimately transform the world one day. Just need some financial backing. If you're watching this and you're not related to CY, just contact me or contact Dave. But whether it's delivering toasters or making slingshots or that great idea that we have that we're not sharing with anyone anymore, because we're going to make millions of dollars off it, mate, I appreciate your wisdom, your commitment to me. Just for the record, in case anyone else is watching this, pastors need your care, and Dave has been one of the guys who has truly cared for me. We've had lots of laughs, and I could talk about Dave forever, you Dave forever, but I'm not going to. Maybe I'll do a separate video. I'll let that be. But mate, love serving alongside you. I hope I get the opportunity to serve alongside you in the future. I don't know what that looks like, but I hope I get that chance. Dom Yau. By the way, we're getting up to 19 minutes and 35 seconds. So almost the end of this little run. Oh, maybe I'll go 40 minutes. We'll see how we go. Dom Yau. Dom, so, what can I say about Dom? I love the fact that, actually, Dom, this is what I'm reminded of when I think of you. So number one, I think that you have the capacity to love some of the youth that are really difficult to love. I love the way that you always think before speaking. That's a spiritual gift, a spiritual fruit of self-control. It's almost like you have this kind of waiting process, which as a fast talker and as someone who's probably already said things that I regret, maybe, who knows, I don't know, you would know because you're Dom. And you love your boys. I love the fact that you're not afraid to ask questions, whether it's after CY, just kind of sitting on the platform, after clusters and just coming up and going, hey Gav, how do I deal with this, or do you have any thoughts on this, and being able to sit with you and just kind of chat through some stuff. You're so teachable and humble. You're humble, Dom. And yes, now you have that great little ponytail, and yes, I gave you some flack for it, but mate, I really admire you. I admire you as a leader, your character, your patience, and also as a graphic designer. Good stuff, man. TK is going to keep leveraging that, that's for sure. But yeah, you're actually. Oh, that's the other thing. Yeah, it's funny. You know how things come to mind. Things comes to mind. This last year, just the way that you have chose to invest in events. Of course, how could I forget this? You chose to invest in events, and I remember initially at the beginning of the year, I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting Dom to do that. But you're an ideas man, and you want to see events work and help them to connect people and have those shared experiences. Keep doing that, man. Keep doing that as well, because that is a really cool quality, and I think you'll find some excellent creative expression, and all the glory will go to God in the process with how you give there. So thanks, Dom. Loved serving alongside you. Duncan, my final D. Duncan Kajewski. Now, when did I first meet you, Dunks? Were you in year 12? I think you were in year 12. You were part of that crew at camp that threw darts at the wall and tried to hide it with a big picture frame. Yeah, good job, man. I think you pretty much still owe me $50 for that or something. I can't remember. But yeah, things have changed, hey. Seriously, mate, you have a way of combining comedy with a spiritual authority that everyone acknowledges, and you do it with such a casual demeanour. You don't impose on people's territory unless it's for a really good joke, but you wait and you love people. I love the way that you are not afraid to call a parent. That's a pretty bold step, and it actually says a lot about your leadership. You're committed to young people to brave the voice of a parent when they're going through tough times. I want to thank you for the way that you lead your peers. For some reason, people, particularly young adults, don't like leading their peers. They're worried that they'll be torn down or some tall poppy type situation, but Dunks, you've been willing to step up and lead your peers, and rightly so, because you do carry experience. You carry good character and good skills, great skills in youth leadership, and I truly see your trajectory as being not only an investment in the youth, but certainly an investment in the leaders moving forward. Don't be afraid to ask the challenging questions. That's my challenge for you. Don't be afraid to ask your peers challenging questions. They will respect you for it. They really will. We think that people are scared of the challenging questions, but they will respect you for it. Why? Because it's you. Because it's you, and you've earned their respect. And so Dunks, continue to poke fun, continue to hijack the leader's thread, and then pretend like you had nothing to do with it. Yeah, I see through that. But mate, just continue to give with that sincere heart. Even I know when you were at a distance over this last year, just your commitment to the guys and to the ministry and to keep coming back was something I truly admire. I admire that commitment. So well done, mate. It's been an honour to serve alongside you. All right, it's been 24 minutes. I'm just going to take a breather. I've got to get a drink, but I'll be back. All right, I'm back. I've reorientated just in case you need a fresh background, but I'm going to continue on. We are up to the letter E, and so first on the ranks is Emily Ruenon. So Em, I reckon similar to a lot of the Ignite guys, I never really got a huge opportunity to sit down with you and kind of learn a bit more about your heart and your passions and that type of thing. TK got the privilege of that, but at the same time, I really admire the way that you've been able to lead those older guys at CY. It's not an easy demographic to lead. It's different. It's different to the young guys. It's different in that while the young guys absorb all your energy, it's almost like the old guys absorb all your wisdom. And so I want to thank you for just your consistency in getting alongside these guys in what is some of the most difficult seasons of their lives. I want to thank you for just that quiet temperament, but also that servant heart that you obviously demonstrate. The way that you give and you serve beforehand, before events, but also after events as well. That's just absolutely brilliant. I really admire that. So thank you, Em. It'll be great. I'm really glad that you're sticking around, even though I won't be there this year. I'm really glad you're sticking around and extending your influence and investing in leaders. You've got so much to offer. And so just continue to get alongside other leaders, share what you have learned, and that will be your greatest input as that influence multiplies. So well done, Em. Emma Croot. So another M, but a different M. And what I've loved, Em, about you is your willingness to really get thrown into the deep end in regard to groups this year. I know you came on board as an admin person, and you did that really well, and it was great having you on that team. But my heart, as it always has been for all you guys who have done that kind of admin stuff or even the worship stuff, is to get invested into the lives of young people. And you took on Sarah's group, and you were able to really just be present. You know, that's what those guys actually needed. They needed presence. You were never going to be Sarah, and that's a good thing. But what you needed and what they needed was you to be there for them, to be consistent, and to ask a few questions, but mostly just to provide this ministry of availability to them. And I know that they're going to be tough nuts to crack, and it's going to take time, but I want to thank you that you're willing to step up and serve in that way. And not everyone would be willing to do that, but you are. And so just thanks, Em, for just being present. And thank you for those quiet words, those honest bits of feedback that are so valuable for our ministry. Continue to do that as well. Emma Whitehead. We have a few M's. Emma Whitehead. Gosh, mate, I feel like we've been in the thicks and throes of things for a long time, and I know you've been out of youth age for a couple of years now, but at the same time, so many cool shared memories of great conversations, just sitting down and wrestling through family and friends and circumstances, but also just the way that you serve and the way that you give and your creativity with lighting. Okay. Couple of things. So 2 things just coming to mind. I kind of needed a little bit of a warm-up before I got there. Okay, but here's the 2 things. So number 1, you are incredible at training people. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but you are. You literally taught me how to use the lighting desk in like one sit down, and you're just so great at not just doing things for other people, but you're also really great at teaching people to do things for themselves. And so you're a great trainer. So take every opportunity you can to train others, because you're really gifted in that area. And I probably haven't told you that enough. But really embrace that for sure. And that's not just going to be the area of technical and lighting. It's going to be in every aspect of your ministry. I'm certain of that. And also in the workplace. Of course. Second thing is, loved going on Operation Thailand with you and having you a part of that team. We had some really fun times on Optai, and just loved being able to sit down with you and have some really rigorous conversations. So proud of you for, I know the conversation there at Optai kind of was one of the things that preceded you choosing to get baptised. Our great conversations around spiritual gifts and your capacity to find expression to those, and I honestly believe that there's stuff that has been left untapped that you're going to push into over these next couple of years. Really encouraged by it's so encouraging when you can have a conversation, you know there's going to be genuine action steps, and you're the kind of person who genuinely follows through. You always have. And so thanks, Em. It's been a pleasure serving alongside you. It's been a great pleasure leading you. Thanks for the great conversations and all the ways that you give. You really are a jack of all trades. I know you're going to do some group leading this year. Sweet. You're going to thrive in that environment as well. I already know that in advance because I've seen you and I know you. So just well done, Em. I love how you serve the ministry and Crossway more broadly. You're a gift. We missed you when you were away, and we're so glad to have you back. Would you believe that my name is next on the list? I could spend hours talking about myself. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to skip over me. You guys did a great job. Thank you for the thank you video at my final CY. They were lovely words that you shared with me, so thanks. So the next person on the list is Ishka. Now Ishka, it's been great having you. I feel like I've got to know you even better. Obviously got to lead you while you were in Surge Senior, but I loved getting to know you better during clusters this year. Just having you in the group and having you contribute your own wrestle with how you can share scripture and share the word of God. I almost said scare there, but maybe that's appropriate, without scaring them, without scaring the youth, and having that high challenge, but also high invitation. Yes, 3DM, it was bound to come in. But I love the way that you weren't just satisfied with what you had to offer, but you wanted to actually improve. You wanted to build relationship, and your willingness to allow kind of rabbit trails and conversations to go places, and the permission that you gave your youth to do that while remaining absolutely committed to the text and to the Bible, and to have them engage with the truth of God's word. I just really admire that, your flexibility. It's not easy when you have an agenda in your mind to be flexible, and yet you actually, I've seen you grow in that area so well. And while I know that you obviously finished up at the end of last year, where you go next, you're going to bring that same, I trust that you're going to bring that same temperament to whatever ministry looks like, whatever works looks like within that context as well. So keep being flexible and teachable, but by no means never let it compromise your pursuit and your passion for the Word of God, not only teaching it, but allowing people to be exposed to that and discovering truth for themselves. And as someone who is a big advocate of having people engage with the Bibles, because they just don't, in terms of spiritual disciplines for the most part, you can all grow in that regard. But as someone who's really passionate about that, I always saw you as a soldier on my team in ensuring that people had an opportunity to be able to engage in that way. And so thanks, Ishka, for the many years that you've served, for your leadership of your peers back when you were just youth-aged, but also in these more recent years. Just your commitment to your girls, to those few who would continually come. We're going to make sure that they continue to remain in good hands moving forward. Jackie, I love the gentleness and the patience that you have and the presence that you have with your girls. And I know there's just been a couple this year, but there's something kind of beautiful about that. I love the fact that you can have these giant lists of people, and of course we'd love them to come to CY, but for you it was like it didn't matter. It's like you could have your 2 girls or your 3 girls kind of rock up consistently, and you would continue to bring your full presence to those youth. It wasn't like, oh yeah, they're not giving me much, so I'm not going to give them much. It wasn't this kind of like trade deal type situation. It's you just bring your very best to each and every Friday night, and you give your best no matter how many youth are there. And that I really, really admire that, Jackie. I just want to continue to encourage you, and I know there's going to be some shifting of groups this year, but at the same time I just want to encourage you just to bring your best every time. Your youth see that, your girls do love you. The relationship you've been able to build even over these 12 months has been fantastic, and I know that's only going to increase all the more so as time goes on. I want to encourage you, I don't know, just came to mind, so take this for what you feel, but I just kind of feel like you're the kind of person who sees things with a discerning eye, and I feel like you're going to be really valuable as an avenue for feedback in terms of CY. I don't know, maybe you see that in yourself, maybe you don't, but I just kind of feel like, I know that when you share stuff, I really want to listen, and I just kind of feel like you have this unique insight and perhaps catch things that other people, details that other people don't catch. And so I want to encourage you, and I want you to know that you have full permission to provide that feedback. Send that TK's way, send that Greg's way, send it Marg's way, send it through your key leader. Just know how valuable that is. So you got the relationship stuff, but you also got just that feedback and just that discerning eye. And so, Jackie, it's great having you on team. I see great things ahead for you. It's a shame I'm not going to be around to see it all, but I'm going to hear the stories, and that's going to be good to do as well. Jake Mazzei. So Jake obviously finished up at the end of last year. Once again, I love the way that you were able to juggle full-time work as a tradie, working hard with also investment in your boys, getting alongside them. I know our conversations were always, how can I make this work? Similar to Brit, must be a family thing, but how can we make this work? Deeply committed to your guys. And in more recent times, mate, I have been so encouraged by your willingness to think about mission and ministry beyond the confines of CY and also into your workplace, and looking for those people of peace. And I know we've had these conversations. I love your heart that recognises that ministry and kingdom impact isn't just at CY, but it's beyond that. And while you're not going to be leading at CY, at least for this year, what I know is that God isn't done with you in terms of your capacity to invest in relationship and see kingdom fruit as a result. And if anything, my hope is that by having the freedom away from CY, and I know that was a big time of discernment to give that up because you love your boys, but by having this fresh freedom, it's actually going to release you into new levels of influence within your workplace and new levels of opportunities for evangelism and sharing the good news about Jesus. I want to encourage you to continue to be that firm and solid pillar of integrity and of character within a really tough work environment. And so, mate, thank you for your commitment to your boys, for the way you keep rocking up, for your willingness to have a laugh, for the great handshakes, just having you present. It did something for me. Like when I'd see you in the foyer, I go, Jake's here. It just gave me increased confidence. And so for whatever that's worth, mate, just love having you on team. Love seeing you grow through CY, Surge, those years that I got to lead you as well. I really admire you as a leader. So thanks for serving for all the years, and God's going to continue to do profound work through you. James Ciao. So James, it's great. Like, mate, I've really enjoyed the few conversations we've been able to have in more recent times, just around life and around decision making, around relationships, and all that great stuff. And I love that you felt free to come to me to have those conversations. It truly is a gift to be able to just kind of wrestle some things to the ground. Okay, so this is a story I remember about you. I remember, and I know this, you probably hate this memory, but I really like it because it says something about who you are and about CY in general. I remember the time when you were first starting to drum, and we have the in-ears, of course, and I remember the time when the in-ears were failing. It was before we got the refurb, and I remember you were on drums, and we had tracks in the background, and the entire worship set was just an absolute train wreck. It was shocking but hilarious, but I remember Dave Houghton was kind of in the fetal position at the back of the auditorium, and there was nothing we could do. I think we just ended up switching off all the amps, and we kind of did an acoustic set. It was hilarious in that moment because in a place like Crossway that strives for perfection, it's kind of part of the culture, love it or hate it, there was this kind of breakdown moment. Now, what's that got to do with you? I would say that you, for me, you strike me as the person who is still willing to engage even in the mess. And that was a messy circumstance, and I loved it because it kind of brought us back to what really matters. I think that in the midst of messiness, and whether that's messiness in the current circumstance or whatever kind of future mess throws its way, we work with people, so it's going to be messy at some point or another. You can be a stable force and a person who continues to pursue and push through in the midst of that mess. And I see that in you. I love the way that you picked up the mic at some of our CY events and just kind of like take the role of hosting and have a bit of fun. I love the fun that you bring to the table as well. And you know what? That's what it is. Fun is often kind of thrives in the midst of the mess, and you're willing to have that fun. And so just continue to do that, mate. Love the way that you serve. Keep thinking about who you can invest in the worship team environment as well. I know that you're only fresh, but mate, you've already got influence that you can share. You've got something to offer. There's my challenge. Obviously, I haven't challenged enough in the last few vids, so I just got to kind of keep pushing it in. So, mate, just continue to step up, look for those people that you can have an influence over, whether it be in an area of your own like competency in worship leading. And I say worship leading, you lead as a drummer, but also just in terms of character as well, mate. So well done. All right, next person, James Wong. James Wong. Mate, I've loved having you in Huddle. I love when I am able to cut through and see the vulnerable side of you, and because I know that there is so much that goes on in that mind and in that heart behind that very smooth and suave character that you bring to CY and bring to leadership. I love it when you smile, and I know that sounds kind of romantic, but what I mean is I love it when you smile and the kind of you're able to kind of just be free. You crack a joke. It's a really cool moment to kind of where I see your excellence, which clearly you have in a number of different areas. I was about to say domains. I was about to do a Dale and say domains, but your influence in a whole number of areas. I love it when it's almost like that smile is a picture of your accessibility. And I could share so much about your wisdom and your willingness to engage in an intellectual level with a whole number of issues and wrestle them to the ground, your willingness to evangelise to your peers at uni, and the way that you bring that same mentality back into CY or Surge. And I just want to acknowledge that your leadership and your influence isn't just the result of training at CY. It's been the result of a whole number of different voices that you've chosen to take and run with and listen to and also push away sometimes. And I really admire that about you. I want to encourage you, as I always have, to decide or discover what it is that God's calling you specifically to do and say yes to that. That allows you to say no to other things, which gives you margin in your life to do the things that God's calling you to do really, really well. And you already know that, but it's just worth an encouragement, and this will be locked into history. So you can look back at this at one point and be like, Gavin, I did it, and I know that God has incredible plans for you. So you just got to learn to say yes to the things that God's calling you to do. So mate, love your influence over leaders, your willingness to step up, to fill the gaps, and love your insights and teachability as well, mate. So yeah, pleasure serving alongside you for many years. We're at 17 minutes, I'm just checking the time. Something on my hand. All right. Next person. Oh, light's fading a little bit. That's all right, we're good. Gavin, get back in the zone. All right, here we go. Next person is Janine. Janine, once again, I've loved leading you in cluster this year. In fact, I think I've kind of got more contact with you in cluster this year, and I've really appreciated that, because we haven't been able to catch up kind of outside of CY much. But I've loved hearing your reflections, the way that you are growing yourself, the way that you love your girls, and that's really, really cool. One of the things that I really admire is the way that, obviously having been led by Alicia those years ago, and just her gift of hospitality and making people feel welcome, I feel like you've really carried that into your own leadership. You have a deep commitment to seeing the faith of young people grow, but at the same time, it's like you create this welcoming environment that people feel safe in. And I see the threads of Alicia in your leadership, and that's a really cool thing, because I also know that in your girls, maybe, who knows, one day somebody will definitely see the threads of your leadership in your girls as well. I want to thank you for even just the fun that we have in cluster, and your willingness to openly share. Thank you for the way that you support your peers, for your commitment to your girls. It really is admirable, and I see that. And so thank you, Janine, for your willingness to juggle the rest of life around, and also just continue to give on Friday night. You're so consistent, and consistent regardless of who turns up. And I really admire that. So thanks, Janine, for serving in the way that you do. Continue to go strong. Jaya Matthew. Oh, Jaya. I think, I remember we've had many Conversations over the years. I think you're only second behind Dave in terms of XP when it comes to Surge CY at current point in time. I've already said this to you personally, but I just want to reinforce it, that you see things that other people don't see. You discern temperaments that other people would otherwise miss, and that is an incredible gift. You knew that I was finishing at CY probably before most, not because I told you, but because you sensed it. And as I mentioned in that letter I sent you, I say trust your gut. Trust your gut when you have those moments of discernment. Obviously, you're in psychology for a reason, and God's going to use that powerfully, that gift of discernment within that, I suppose, secular setting as well, for kingdom impact. And I'm excited to see how you're going to influence not only the lives of your clients, but also your colleagues in that area of vocation and work. But that's kind of side issue. I just have loved the way that you have been committed to your girls for so many years. You saw them all the way through, and you have a passion for prayer. You aren't afraid, you haven't been afraid to call me out on things when I've needed to. And yes, you probably apologised for it afterwards, but at the same time, I've really appreciated the fact that you've called those things out. Continue to call out, actually, JR, I give you permission, continue to call out Greg and call out TK and call out these guys, call out Mark. Dare you call out Mark? Because you have the authority to do that. You do. I think that there are levels of leadership that you can continue to tap into and be challenging yourself in moving forward. And there are so many people, so many leaders, if not all the leaders, especially those who know you and have been around you, they deeply respect you. They respect your character and your commitment to God. And it hasn't always been an easy ride. There's been ups and downs, but I've loved our rigorous conversations, and my hope is I can continue to encourage you from afar. It's been great having you in Huddle, and I'm excited to see how your influence extends in this next season. So, love you, Joe. All right, 22 minutes. Yep, I'll do one more. I'll take a breather. I'm losing light. So next person on the list is Jeremy Tay. Jez, one of the things that I admire about you, obviously you're incredible musically, but you also have a deep passion for people. I think that you're naturally talented. I know even as I'm filming this, I know you're away on Songwriters Retreat. I think you are. I hope you are. Oh gosh, I could have got that wrong. If you're not on this one, you'll certainly be on the next one. And you have a great ability just to, I suppose, capture the heart of the Spirit and where the Spirit is leading. I want to thank you for the way that you have got alongside people when they're going through tough circumstances, and I know that you've experienced tough circumstances yourself, but you haven't allowed those tough circumstances, even tragic circumstances, to own you, but you've actually used that pain in order to bring healing to others. I've seen that. And so, Jeremy, just continue to do that. Can I encourage you, mate? Through your worship and your worship leading, but also through those conversations. Have loved leading you. I loved the many conversations we've been able to have, both when you were in youth and we were doing Surge Senior, but also as a leader. I've mentioned this about some of the others, but it's certainly reflective of you as well. I love the fact that if you've got a question, you're unafraid to ask. That humility will serve you well moving forward. And so thank you for your leadership and commitment to your youth, to our team, to our community, to me. Mate, really admire that. Alright, I'm going to take a break. That's 23 minutes, 24 minutes just ticked over. Alright, I'm going to take a break. I might move inside because I've got plenty more people to get through and acknowledge. Alright, I'm back. I've moved indoors. Got a bit more light here, so we'll see how this goes. So, next on the list. Jess Somali. So Jess, I love working with you, Jess. When Marg said that she was going to bring you onto the CY team, I was like, yes, because you're such a valuable asset to the team, not only in the way that you're able to serve our particularly pastoral care for our female leaders, but I also just love the way that you have this kind of this critical eye in such a good way, critical eye and a capacity to get things done. It's like you see the issues before they even become issues, and I really appreciate that. And so Jess, I just want to say that I've really loved working with you. I've been really glad to have you on team. It was kind of like when Tika and I kind of just started and we were kind of forging, and Nidhi came on board and all that kind of stuff. There was something missing, and you brought I suppose the whole team together in many respects with just that piece that was missing. And so thanks, Jess, for just the way that you've just the pleasure it's been to serve alongside you, and the way that you have fun and we just get involved. It's been really, really cool. I also just want to say you are a great mum. It's been so cool being able to hang with Ali, and if she picks up even half of the character that you have, she'll be absolutely amazing, as she already is. And so, thanks, Jess, for the opportunity to work alongside you, for keeping TK in check, and being so hospitable with both your words and the way that you're hospitable about inviting other leaders in. It's just been absolutely incredible. So, thanks, Jess. Joel Salalihi, mate, I admire your resilience. You have been leading these boys for, I think is it 5 years? I want to say 5 years. If not, I'm crediting you with more years, because just the way that you've been able to be resilient and stick by these guys has just been incredible. I know it hasn't always been the easiest ride, and even as you're discovering more about who you are and what God's calling you to do, I'm actually really excited, because I feel like you're on the kind of the precipice of a fresh, of something fresh that God wants to do in your life. I don't want to say fresh season. I feel like there's kind of a new opportunity that's going to emerge in your life, and it's going to be a really exciting one. In fact, it's going to be a point of clarity where some of the questions that you've been having over even the last couple of years around to what extent you're influential, and you are, to what extent you can give your very best, and you do, how that's going to kind of, there's going to be an opportunity that emerges that allows you to actually find full expression of that. I trust that God will provide that, and I just feel like it's soon. And so, Joel, I want to thank you for your resilience and your commitment to CY, to your boys. You're a valuable member of the team, and I wish I could have had more catch-ups with you, mate. But it's been a pleasure. And I love the fact that you bring some fun, you smile, and also, can I just say this? You're clearly just a really excellent brother. And that's a credit to your character. You know, if you can get along with your family, then you're in really good shape to lead people who aren't family yet. And so, mate, just the way that you care for your family, the way you look after your sister, I see that, and it's just awesome. And so, just continue to be that great big brother, and bring that into your leadership. And so, yeah, thanks for serving the way that you do, mate. Jonathan Abb, mate, you're the only one who isn't on Facebook, and I respect that. It is a little bit of frustration, but I genuinely respect that, mate. You have such incredible patience. You seriously have incredible patience. You were thrown with some of the toughest guys. And it wasn't just tough guys. Actually, this is what made it even more complex. You had good guys and you had tough guys, and somehow you managed to navigate that with such grace. You're willing to call out some of the bad behaviour, and not just let it slide, but also you were 100% committed to every single one of your boys, and that's almost an impossible feat when you can't be in two places at once, and yet you managed to deliver it with such high quality and commitment to young people. I admire you in the way that you study med. You clearly are going to make massive inroads in the medical, vocationally speaking as well. But the way that you're willing to commit to youth is something that I truly admire. You carry a wisdom that is just incredible, and I love having you just kind of positioned there in the midst of some of the younger leaders, just because you bring that extra little bit of life experience that is so valuable within that setting. I know, and this is something that I wish I had have given you greater opportunity to do, and maybe you want it, maybe you don't, I don't know, but the world may as well know that I know that you are a great teacher as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if opportunities emerge over the next couple of years, perhaps, where you get the opportunity to teach and share from the scriptures, and just kind of hold out truth for people to appreciate. And I just know that gift is in there, and unfortunately, and you know, that's my fault. I didn't give you the opportunity to express that, but I know that was expressed in a small group, and who knows, it might be expressed in a large group at some point in the future as well. But just know, I love your commitment, I love your patience, and you are just an incredible leader. Thank you for joining the team. I remember when you said that you were interested, I was just like, we've got to snap this guy up like quick, fast, because he is such good quality. And so thank you for your years of service. And while I know that you're not going to be around this year, I really hope that you're able to return and that God speaks to you in this break while you do med. And I know that you're going to come back stronger than ever. Jonathan Bong, mate, some of my best memories of you, I mean, we've had many times, and I love the way that you've stepped up in terms of your leadership and your authority over these last couple of years, mate. That's just been incredible. You played an instrumental role. I don't know how many people know this, but you played an instrumental role in the the integration of Ignite and Surge at the time to make CY what it is. In fact, you kind of were spearheading some of the branding as well with CY. You've had played such a critical role in honouring the part of youth that recognises the shared community. And so this is the thing to really acknowledge. And I don't know if I'm saying it for your sake. I'm saying it because I want to encourage you at this critical part that you played, but other people were worth knowing this as well. We, as a ministry years ago, we moved from being very program-centric, and then with Mike's influence, we moved to being relationship-centric, which is why we have small groups and follow-up, and why we have this incredible culture of care and love and discipleship, which is life on life, and that's really cool. But we almost swung too far. And you, Bongo, played a critical role in helping us stabilise that swing and drawing us around a shared identity. And your influence and your willingness to give so much by being both in Surge and Ignite in those critical 18 months, almost 2 years, where we were trying to find common ground, where we were trying to find that unity, was so important, and for the most part would have gone unrecognised. And so thank you, Bongo, for your willingness to commit to that vision. And I hope that you are basking in seeing that vision come to fruition, even as we continue to grow as CY. It must have been a really special day for you when we actually were able to bring the two communities together. So I just want to say thank you so much for that critical role that you play. I could say so much about your worship leading, I could say so much about your group leading, but I also just want to acknowledge when we got to go to Indonesia together, that was really cool. So going to Espahar and to be able to teach alongside you, to see you worship lead within a new context, to build relationship, get alongside their musicians, these year 8 guys, and you didn't have any relationship, but you pushed yourself in there, and I just love seeing you lead in that kind of raw, organic way. And I want you to know that is in you, and I think I'm only going to see that even more so as time goes on. Maybe I won't see it. Hopefully I'll hear the stories from a distance. I know TK will keep me informed about that. So, mate, I just want to thank you for the way that you've sowed in so many different contexts. Continue to stir that apostolic gift that you have. And so as you continue to have vision, once again, bring other people into that fold, share your dreams and visions with them, get team around you, and then go and on that voyage. And so, mate, I've seen you grow in that area and grow in your competency around your areas of fivefold gifting, and I know that's only going to increase all the more so. You've got a powerful thing going on there as you tap into the Spirit of God. And so, yeah, worship, prayer, mate, admire all of that in you. So thank you for the opportunity to serve alongside you. Thank you for not giving up, even when the going was getting tough. And appreciate all the great conversations we've been able to have along the way. As you might be able to tell, I feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit. So I might have to stop soon and do some more tomorrow. All right. But I'm not going to stop yet. It's only been 10 minutes, man. So let's keep going. Next person on the list, Jono Fung. So Jono, I won. I mean, clearly you're a superior basketball player to me, and there's many times we've been around the basketball court where I've admired your skill. That's a given. But Jono, I love the grace with which you enter conversations with people. You listen really, really well. Listening skills, some people have to learn them. I had to learn them. Some people have them by nature. Jono, I think that you have them by nature. You have the ability just to wait and to hold people's stories and And what I love is it's that ministry of presence that you first and foremost offer. And I know that you'd be the first guy to put up your hand and go, hey, sometimes I don't know what even to say and how to respond. I want you to know that just by being present, you have already led. You have already been pastoral. You have already brought healing in some way or form before even introducing anything. And so, Jono, as much as I haven't had many opportunities to catch up with you one-on-one, and obviously coming through Ignite, I haven't had as much time to spend with you, but at the same time, mate, I just want to thank you for your ministry of presence, and that's something that many of us can learn a lot from. So keep going well. I know you're overseas at the moment, but keep going well, and thank you for the way that you lead and your commitment to young people. Ooh, almost skipped one. Josh Ruenon, you're next. And so, Josh, mate, I've really loved seeing the way that you lead your guys. I'm excited that you're taking on Jake Mazzei's group this year. When you take ownership of something for yourself, you're going to go gangbusters. It's going to be amazing. But I love the way that you've been leading alongside Jeremy with those Ignite guys. And once again, a critical role in transition, making them feel welcome. In the midst of change, we needed people who were stable and who were anchors, who understood Ignite, who also understood CY or Surge, and you're one of those people. I want to thank you that you weren't afraid to ask questions. I want to thank you for the great conversations we've had on the platform post CY, for just the willingness to constantly be teachable and be willing to learn. I could genuinely tell, you can tell from people's eyes, I could tell from your eyes that whenever you asked a question and whenever I had something to share, you genuinely were hearing it and listening and absorbing it. And some stuff you'd absorb and you'd be immediately able to implement, some things you'd store away. But we all see this, we see this as a team. You carry a grace with you into those conversations. You're the kind of person that a young person would feel immediately comfortable with if you were just to ask them the simple question, how they're going. And you can ask the question like, how are you going? With like zero relational currency, and I have this gut instinct feeling, and I think I've actually even witnessed it at times, where people are kind of like, they would genuinely share something of depth and not just superficial, because someone like you asked the question. And so I just want to encourage you to keep asking the question. Keep digging in that little bit deeper as you seek to equip young people to live out their faith. And so, mate, just really encouraged by you. Love your teachable spirit. Love your servant heart, your willingness to pack up, to clean up, to always be available, to give that extra little bit even after a long night. I see it, mate, and I want to thank you for it. Well done. I might do one more. Guys are getting pretty tired. Josiah Watkins, mate, I just want to say thank you for your commitment to your boys all the way through Kids Space. It was awesome leading you when you're in Surge Senior. You are such an encourager. You are such an encourager, and pastoral ministry can be tough at times, but mate, you always encourage me. Conversations on a Sunday, conversations on a Friday night, the catch-ups that we had. I remember catching up and as you were just wrestling with what it looks like to work and what it looks like to serve and getting those rhythms in place post Year 12, and you were so committed. You're like, I want to do Surge at the time. I want to do Surge. I want to be committed. But even with that passion, your willingness this year to do half Kiln, half CY, and that shows me and that demonstrates to me that your commitment is to young people, not just because CY is pretty much the best ministry at Crossway. So your commitment to young people is a powerful, powerful thing. And so I just want to say thank you for your willingness to be flexible. I know you're going to come in with your boys, your grade 6 boys now into Year 7. Now you're officially in the mix of CY full-time, and mate, you're going to love it. But I want to thank you for your encouragement to me, for your willingness to give feedback, and it's so positive and so affirming. And when ministry has been tough, I know I can always look to you for those words of encouragement. I know that they're genuine as well. It's not just lip service. And so thank you, mate, for your encouragement for me. And I know that you're an encourager not only for me, but also for the rest of the ministry. And so, Lord, what did I just say, Lord? It's almost like a prayer. I want to go into a prayer for you, Josiah, but it's, I just want to encourage you to be that encourager for the rest of the team as well. So just as I've been able to experience the blessing of that, my challenge to you and I know you'll do this anyway, but my challenge to you is to continue to push in and be that encourager for, yes, the rest of the CY staff, believe me, they need it as time goes on as well, but also for your peers and for your fellow leaders. Look forward to all that God is going to do through you as you enter CY full time. Josiah, appreciate you, mate. All right, I'm going to take a break. 16 minutes. Gosh, didn't do that so well. But in my defence, I have just come off basically 50 minutes. So what's that? Hour and 10. Not bad. All right, we'll give it a go. And I'll do a few more, share a bit more, encourage a few more tomorrow. Catch you guys. All right, here we go again, continuing the list. I took a day break, had a wedding, so, it's all right, but we're going to keep on going. So next person on the list is Joyce. Joyce, I became a bit of the big brother that you never had, and maybe you never wanted, but nevertheless, here I am. And so I am really proud of you. I'm proud of the person that you're becoming, the way that you lead. It was really cool just to think back and kind of go, man, we've come so far. And so when you were a youth, it was great getting alongside you. And now that you've stepped into leadership, I just see the way that you get alongside youth and you love your girls and they really love you. I remember those early years of leadership, particularly when you were struggling because you had a couple of Christian girls and you had a couple who weren't, and trying to navigate the ins and outs of what it looked like to lead them. And just the way that you managed to keep on, I suppose, persevering and learn through the process has been really cool. You come back from you've England, and who knows, maybe you're a new person. But it's great to have you back, and it's been awesome to journey with you. Like I said, in the book that you're aware of, there's very few people I call sister, but those I do, I love, respect, and I'm very proud of, and I'm proud of you, Joyce. So, look forward to many good times ahead, even from a distance. All right, Justin Pan boy, man, gosh, what can I say about you? I've been so inspired by the way that in these more recent years, the way that you've just thrown yourself into worship leading, into youth ministry. I remember it wasn't all easy going, particularly back in youth days, but just the way that God has been able to use you and grow you in your leadership, simply by your willingness to show up and be present, has just been really, really powerful. I love the fact that you're up there and that we can have fun together. Like even just the CY challenges this year, or last year, should I say, was just fun, man. You're just a fun guy. And I'm really, really glad that you're on the team, because we need people who are willing to be a bit weird and to be a bit fun. And I think just you bring so much to the team, just a result of showing up. And so I'm really encouraged by how much God has grown you over these last few years. And I know your influence in CY is only going to increase over time. And particularly not only as you invest in youth, but also in time as you invest in leaders as well. So continue to pursue Jesus and all that he has for you, mate. It's great having you on team. Justin Tai. So Justin, seriously, mate, you are one of the guys who work behind the scenes and you get things done. And yes, maybe there's sometimes when I probably ask a little bit too much of you, but seriously, mate, your servant heart and your willingness to be present and mix that sound desk, mix that in-ears, and seriously, production is not certainly not the most glorious role to have, but you do such a great job. And you're really reliable, and I want to thank you for that. I really feel like there's incredible scope for you to extend your influence through training others. I think that you have the authority to be able to do that. And I suppose I just want to see your influence extend, not just in the work that you do, but in the influence that you have on others around you. And so I'm excited for you, and I just want to say thank you for just being such a dedicated team player. You are, and this is one of the things that I want to encourage you in, but also all the guys who do production, never forget that you guys are worship leaders. You help people shift their focus from themselves toward God. And so I just want to say thank you for all that you give and the way that you help lead worship, even from the back of the room. Justin Tan, mate, I love spending time with you, and I'm sorry I haven't got to spend more time with you. You're one of those guys who was absolutely instrumental in the transition, or the kind of the coming together of Ignite and Surge, and I'd say this for you, but also for all the guys who came through Ignite. Seriously, your commitment to young people and your willingness to do both Surge and Ignite for, what was it, a good 12 months, if not more, was just absolutely phenomenal. I want to say, Justin, thank you for your spiritual leadership. And you're such a guy who, like, I'll probably say that and you're like, Gav. But seriously, mate, there's a reason why I wanted to have you by my side when we were doing service hosting at camp, is because I genuinely believe that you've got that that spiritual gift of discernment and an awareness of what's going on in the room. And I've seen that. I've seen that take place. I've seen you do that. And to really kind of embrace that role. And when you've been able to step out and step up, you lead in such a profound way. I want to thank you for your service in worship as well. Mate, I love the fact that as you play, you also sing. You are a worship leader, and at the same time, you're such a humble guy. And I just want to say it's an absolute delight to lead beside you. You know, you're a great gift, and I was one of the people. I mean, I love you all, but you're one of the people who I was like, I'm so glad that we get to have him from Ignite, and that you're part of the CY team, because you're just a brilliant guy, and your faith. And your prayers, your dedication to your boys, it speaks volumes about your character and who you are. So thank you, Justin, for all that you give. Lockie Scholes, mate. What stories do we have? Mate, I mean, it's funny. The first thing that comes to mind is, of course, the break free incident. And what I loved about that is, mate, you just jumped into it. And that's what you do. You jump into things, and I love that you jump into them head first. And you've got the hair happening, and so head first probably makes sense. But seriously, you're a bit of a crazy guy under the surface, and I really, really like that. You're willing to have a laugh and have a lot of fun. I also see, and I love the way that even though you've been kind of primarily on worship team this year, and I've seen you step up in that way, I love the fact that you really want to get in groups as well. Your willingness to build relationship will be so essential. It'll help inform your worship leadership, and I just really admire the way that you sit in groups and you get alongside some of those Year 7 guys last year, and probably Year 8 guys this year, and just you're not just satisfied with kind of doing the task. You want to build a relationship. And so, it's been so great to see you step up in that way. You always have this willingness to learn and be teachable. And I want to really acknowledge that as well. I just want to ask, I suppose my prayer would be really that you just continue to grow in those areas where we're just seeing the first fruits of the many fruit that are to come as a result of who you are and the way that you want to serve others through every aspect of your gifts, creative and otherwise. So loved having you on team, and we'll miss your presence. Laura Farrow. Now, Laura, I mentioned you earlier. You probably didn't bother listening to the previous hour of my talks, but in which case I'll do a bit of a reminder. I'm pretty sure, Laura, you were the one who opened the door initially and pretended to not know who I was when I first came to visit you guys in Year 12 in Anna Commons group as part of your CY social, or whatever we called it back then, social night. Laura, I want to thank you for your willingness and your commitment to your girls, even though at times it's been absolutely exhausting. Seriously, your commitment to youth and just the way that you continually give. You've come off some really tough years in many respects, both emotionally and just with the demands on your time and energy. And I just really admire the way that you've always had this sense of like, how can I continue to give despite my circumstances? I want to thank you for the way that you sit so gently beside so many people. You get alongside them when they're going through tough places, and your willingness to listen. You have this grace about you and this gentleness about you when you do get alongside people. But what I also love is you're one of the people who wasn't afraid to call things out when they weren't right either. And I know that may take other people by surprise, but Laura, you've always been one of those people who you're like, actually, it shouldn't be that way. And you give me this look in your eyes and you're like, it shouldn't be this way and you should do something about it. And I've really appreciated that. because we need honest people who also have that capacity for gentleness and grace. And in many respects, your authority to call things out is a result of your ability to sit beside people. You've earned that trust and you've earned that respect, and I most certainly respect you, Laura. And so I just want to encourage you, even as you continue to take your girls through, I want to thank you for standing by them through thick and thin, for a willingness to recognise your own limitations, but at the same time, a willingness to just to continue to give of yourself, for the sake of the girls and for the sake of CY as a whole. So, Laura, you really are a champion. Yeah, it's been great serving with you. All right. Lauren Dodson, you're next. Lauren, you maybe just behind... Wait, I've got a cough. As you can tell, I'm losing my voice a little bit. But I'm going to keep going. Lauren, I reckon... it would be neck and neck between you and Annabelle as to who has the craziest girls. But seriously, your group can be a little wild sometimes, and I really love the way that that you obviously you're such a gentle person and such a patient person. Gosh, Lauren, you're so patient, and the way that you've demonstrated patience to your girls, I think is just going to produce such fruit in them over time. And maybe it's been some tough years, and there's been a sense of like, seriously, is anything really getting through to these girls? I imagine you've probably asked that question at times. I want to just remind you that just your relationship with them and your presence with them speaks volumes about their worth, about how God sees them. And in that same vein, I just want to remind you of how God sees you. He sees you as his child and as someone he loves, and I just want to thank you for, once again, through the ups and downs, your willingness to commit to CY. I want to thank you for the great conversations we've been able to have on camp and otherwise, just sitting down and wrestling through some really big issues around faith, and your willingness to wrestle is a credit to your character. You know, whereas other people might just kind of brush it aside or just let it sit there and kind of hope for the best. Lauren, you've always been willing to have the conversation. And I really admire that. And I remember walking away from some of our conversations, sometimes a little exhausted, not because of you, but just because of the subject. But a lot of the time just walking away really encouraged, because I knew that some rigorous wrestling had taken place, and the result of that was going to be greater faith in you, new ideas on how to step forward, and also greater levels of, I suppose, influence that were being developed in you that no doubt you weren't just going to keep for yourself, but were also going to share with others, your peers, and also those you lead. And so, Lauren, just continue to remain strong. Thanks for being an excellent youth leader and for giving all that you have, and just remaining steadfast in your commitment to young people as you lead. All right, Leanne Hill. Now, Leanne, I know that you're no longer at CY and you're no longer at Crossway, but at the same time, Leanne, I could spend ages sharing about how important you have been to me and the value that you have added to CYA and to Crossway as a whole. But you already know this, but I'll share it again. I already know that some of my most delightful conversations, or some of the most fun conversations and deep conversations have been when I've been able to step into your office and we've been able to wrestle something to the ground. We've been able to chat about Enneagram stuff, and we've been able to chat about issues, and I love that there is no shame. We don't need to pull punches, but rarely do we even need to punch each other, because you just have such a generosity of theology and understanding that I've always appreciated. I knew that I could be completely honest with you and would never feel judged. I could come in feeling stressed after a tough day, and I would always be listened to. Seriously, you were such a gift to Crossway, and you will be missed. You'll be missed by me, but who knows? Maybe I'll give you a call sometimes when I need to vent or whatever it might be. But Leanne, just your presence and your leadership is such a gift. I've learned so much about generosity from you. I've learned so much about having an open door and getting alongside people from you. And I just want to thank you for all those great times, the great laughs, the dinners with you and Hilly, and just how much you inspire Meegs and myself as a couple in how to be great pastors and how to be hopefully great future parents. Leanne, you really are such a gift, and you're going to be such a blessing at City Life in whatever form that takes. So thank you for your leadership and your patience and for all the great chats. All right, next is Liam Spicer. Liam, seriously, mate, I think I've thrown you a bunch of projects, and usually you take them on, and that's to your credit, because I probably don't always deserve it. Liam, I just want to say I see you thrive when you get that opportunity to be creative. Whether it's the setup for like a winter camp or just a creative idea that you, in a way that you feel like, camp could be better, or CY could be better if we did this, or like, yeah, of course we can use a MIDI tracks and we can synchronize lyrics with like the new songs that we're producing, and all those crazy ideas, like, and car karaoke. And to be honest, I feel like there's so much footage that we have taken together that will never make it onto the screen that I really wish I had a copy of, and maybe you do have it somewhere in the dungeons of those hard drives. But Liam, I just want to say thank you for your professionalism, your creativity, your willingness to say yes even when you're exhausted. And seriously, man, I feel like you probably got half the amount of sleep over the course of your years than I got over my years. So, hey, work on your self-care habits. Okay, that's my challenge for you. But at the same time, mate, loved working with you. I hope that you get greater and greater opportunities to find that creative expression in your videography. The way that you've invested in PM service, 6 PM service, and your voice in that has been great. I'm so glad to have you around the table when we speak about how to make our services better, because you bring a real technical knowledge, yes, but and I don't know whether this will surprise you or not, you're not always a man of many words when it comes to spiritual matters, but I can always tell that your words are on point when you speak up in those environments. And so I just want to thank you for the words that you do share in season. They're always words in season. Thanks for being an excellent burger chef. Man, that was a good night, wasn't it? That was a really good night. Once again, creative expression, mate. You're all over it, and I love seeing you thrive in that way. And so just continue to do the great stuff that you do, mate. Don't feel disheartened when things don't come about. You'll always find allies in the youth department. I'm sure of that. All right, what are we looking at? 17 minutes. It's a bit dark. I don't know if it's a bit dark. Oh, we'll see how we go. We can lighten it later. All right, next person is Marek. Marek, I just want to say that I think some of the most significant times that I've seen you youth lead have been the times when it hasn't been on a Friday night. And that's not in any way to discredit your influence on a Friday night. But I remember and I see on a Sunday morning you sitting down with some of those youth who are never able to make it to a Friday night. But I remember seeing you sit at the table with them one-on-one, having a chat. And I remember thinking in that moment, this was on a Sunday morning, and I remember thinking in that moment, I go, I know that kid, that youth is in Marek's group, and I know I haven't seen him on a Friday night for a long time. Why? Because he's been playing basketball. And I knew that about this kid. But what I loved was the fact that I hadn't prompted it, but I just saw you chatting with this guy on a Sunday morning, and I was like, that is what follow-up is about. That is what relationship is about. And Marek, you do that so well. I know you're a busy guy and you've got plenty on your plate, but just to see you do that and to step up speaks loads about your commitment to young people and commitment to youth leadership and what it's really about. And so I just want to encourage you to keep doing that. Thank you for all that you do behind closed doors, for all the ways that you give, especially in those times when I haven't seen it and when no one's seen it, but you've been there. May continue to be there for young people, for these boys especially. Particularly, I think it's their last year this year. Mate, it's going to be a different year for them, but I'm really glad that you're doing life with them. So thank you for the overflow of your faith that has found expression in youth leadership. It's been great having you on team, and I'm sorry that we haven't been able to catch up as much as I would have liked. So, just thanks, mate. All right, next person on the radar. This has been a good run, hey. So next person on the radar is Margaret Spicer, And I've got a funny feeling she's just in the room over there. I can hear her. Oh, it feels weird talking out loud when you know that the person can potentially hear you. All right, I'm going to take a break, and I'll come back in just a sec. Alrighty, I'm back. So, continuing the list. As promised, first up on the radar, or continuing on the radar, is Mark Spicer. So, I think, honestly, I've served under a lot of leaders. Even in my limited amount of times in ministry, I've served under a lot of leaders. And Marg, you are just such an incredible strategic thinker. But even more so than that, okay, I could already list all the awesome qualities that you have. Like, seriously, we were just talking about the bargain shopping that you just got. So if I never need a bargain, I know I can always get you to haggle for me. Marg, you pull money out of anywhere. I don't quite know how you do it. You manage to get staff that I reckon no other department would be able to get. You recruit heavily and you recruit the best. And I can say that because you personally didn't recruit me, so it doesn't sound vain. But seriously, Marg, you got so many great qualities as a leader. But what I really love and what I've been able to admire in you, even and above all of those things, is just the way that you genuinely love kids. And I just want to say thank you for not just being an excellent leader, but just being an excellent person, an excellent pastor, with a willingness to get alongside kids who are struggling, for a willingness to see the kids on the margin. I think that's probably one of the things that not everyone gets to see. With you kind of being up there and holding so much responsibility, is just the way that you look for the kid on the margin. And as much as you have this heart to ensure that the ministry as a whole flourishes and grows and becomes all that God intends it to be, you're never afraid to look for that one sheep. And I want to thank you for that. I've been able to see that, and as much as I'll have so many different axioms and leadership insights, and I'll probably be calling you for advice, no doubt, as I continue on, I just want to thank you for the way that you make ministry personal, the way that you prioritize prayer and ensure that we are on the same page. You're not afraid to challenge, and that's one of the great things that I've appreciated about you. You're not afraid to challenge, and the faster that I learned to challenge you back, I think the better that I got at leading. And so I want to thank you for particularly these past couple of years, as when Mike finished up and you kind of took the helm. I remember initially I was kind of like, all right, yeah, we'll see how this goes. But I've learned so much from you, and will continue to learn so much from you. And to be honest, I think many of our leaders have no idea the capacity that you have, but also just the incredible person and resource that you are to their leadership and to this ministry. And so thanks, Mark, for just being an incredible boss and also just getting alongside both Megan and myself. And caring about Megan as well. Thank you for asking Megan how she's going. That means so much, not only to her, but also to me as well. So thanks, Mark, for being who you are. Next is Mark Alcordo. Now, Mark, mate, you were always one of these guys with so much energy. Look, from doing and leading the 40-hour famine marathon and wanting to give so much. And I still remember, and genuinely I still remember, I know the idea about getting TK and I to have a boxing match and how much fun that was going to be. And unfortunately we couldn't do it due to a whole number of different issues. But mate, you're an ideas man. And I really love that about you, Mark. I love seeing you get alongside those enthusiastic Year 7 guys and running after the prize. Seriously, mate, if I needed a teammate on any one of our outreach events, seriously, I want to be on your team because I know that you play to win. But I also want to thank you for just the great conversations we've been able to have at cafes, both when you were youth, but also when you're as a leader. Just catching up, talking about what it looks like to do well and to strive and to succeed. And mate, you do strive and you do succeed, not just in CY, but in other areas of life. But I also have loved the conversations that we've been able to have about not planting our worth and significance in those successes. And so, mate, I just want to continue to encourage you in a couple of things. All right, here we go. I'm bringing the challenge. So number one, I just want to encourage you to continue to take Sabbath and rest and just find all your drive and your inspiration, which I know you have from Jesus. I know you're going to do that, mate. I really do. But I just want to continue to encourage you in that. And number two, just learn what to say yes to, and therefore what you can say no to. I know this is kind of becoming a coaching conversation, but you know me, this is how things end up going. And so I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate having you on team. It's been so great to see you step up in that way and take on these guys, but I also know that God has incredible things in store for you as you continue to lead forward. Mark Woods. Mark, you have given so much for so many years. And there's two things I just want to acknowledge about you and celebrate in particular. So number one, your ability to get alongside those guys that no one else can has been phenomenal. You just sit beside them and you invite them into conversation, particularly those Forest Hill guys for many, many years. They had a deep respect for you because you made yourself available to them. And Mark, I want to say thank you. I want to thank you for your presence, where your willingness to be patient, to sit with these guys. The amount of times that I'd chat with you and you'd tell me, not because you were trying to boast or anything, but simply because it's the way you went about your business, about how you're catching up with the guys outside of CY times, and even how the guys were going. Like, you would know how they were going when I certainly wouldn't. And Mark, I really appreciate that about you. Just the way that you don't... what's the word I'm looking for? You don't discriminate. You don't discriminate at all. You welcome everyone. And speaking of that, that's the second thing I want to mention. Mark, you are such a good welcomer. You make people feel safe. You make them feel accepted. I want to say thank you for the way that you've been able to exemplify what it looks like to welcome people, without discretion, without discrimination. And you've just been able to open arms every Friday night, just make people feel welcome. Thank you for coming and sharing stories with such excitement. That's such a good quality in you. And I just want to, my hope is that whatever leadership or however leadership finds expression for you in this coming year and the years ahead, that you continue to carry those qualities of acceptance, presence, and welcoming. And I no doubt you will. So I continue to grow in your faith, continue to be challenged, don't get too comfy. But mate, I just love the way that you've committed long-term to young people, committed long-term to CY, and you've seen it through its ups and downs. And I really appreciate that about you, mate. So well done. Martin Lee. Martin, it's been great getting to know you from the few conversations we've been able to have. It's just been great. I want to thank you for your willingness to step up and serve, in particular, beyond the role of a CY leader. You've stepped up and served, you've cleaned up, you've been part of media team. You're always willing to put up your hand and give that extra little bit. And I mentioned this a while ago in one of my earlier videos to someone, but seriously, it's not a quality that you see in everyone. And your willingness to take initiative and to kind of say, hey, is there any way I can help, is such a blessing for us as staff, but also such a great example for our leadership team as a whole. It demonstrates that you have a servant heart, and I see that in Jesus. Jesus obviously exemplified the servant heart, and so just know that in doing that, you too are reflecting Jesus. I want to thank you for getting around those boys who were in your small group who were pretty switched on and they like to ask intellectual questions, and they're striving for that little bit extra. I want to thank you for getting around them and taking on the challenge that it is with boys of high capacity and high potential leadership in the future. And so I want to encourage you, just do what you are already doing in that, speaking kind words. I think that you have the capacity to notice detail and to be able to articulate around that what it is that you see, and be able to have the boldness and the courage to share that with people is such a great gift. And so continue to bring those words of encouragement. I feel like you might have the gift of encouragement, whether you realize that or not. And right now you're probably going, I never have the words to say. Well, believe me, you do have the words to say, because I've been the recipient of those words on a number of occasions, whether you remember them or not. Just the words around how I've led and how I've done. You've just been a real encouragement for me, even for this last year in leadership, but also I know that you've been doing that for many years as a youth before that as well. And so, love having you on team. Really excited to see how you continue to grow with those boys and disciple them moving forward. They're going to take on that same gentle heart and that encouraging quality that you have, I've no doubt at all. Next person's Melody. Melody, I've really enjoyed leading with you. I've loved when we've been able to catch up. I feel like a lot of our chats weren't always formal chats, but maybe it was like at church or after CY or pre-CY. But at the same time, they might feel like a little incidental chats, but they seem to kind of go for a while. And that's what I really like, is because you ask really good questions. And I love it when leaders ask really good questions, and you've always had great questions, not only in terms of leadership, but also in terms of relationships and your own personal character and what it looks like to find expression of faith and theological questions. And I always know that whenever you ask a question, whether it be in person or online, that I want to take, this is the thing, I remember whenever I respond, it's like I want to take time and give you my best, because I feel like the question deserves it. And your questions deserve respect, and they deserve the best response. And so I want to thank you, Melody, not only for the way that you've gotten alongside those girls and the way that you consistently show up, even showing up once you started working full time. I so admire that, because it's not easy to do. But I want to thank you for those just great conversations we've been able to have. I hope that you've got something out of it. I certainly have. Your questions, like I said, great questions that have prompted great conversations, always leave me walking away feeling more inspired as well. And so I know that if I've experienced that, your girls in your small group would have experienced that too. And while I know you're finishing up, we finished up at the end of last year, the way that you've sown into those girls has just been absolutely phenomenal, and they will carry a piece of you into their futures, that's for sure. When they look back upon their experience and they think about who was influential within their lives and who consistently showed up, your name will be the name on their lips. And for that reason, I just take such delight in that. Can you see my smile? I take such delight in that, because I just think about it and I know that your name will be the name on their lips. Thank you for your gentleness. I thank you for the way that that you're unashamed to ask questions, and you're so gracious in your listening as well. It's been great serving with you, Melody. Michelle Fernandez. Michelle. It's been great serving with you as you've kind of taken on responsibilities in G3 over this last year. I remember when you first came on staff at Crossway, and I was like, oh, seriously, that's great. I didn't hear about it. It just kind of appeared, and that's great. And what I love is that we've had many times just being able to laugh and chat and just enjoy what it means to do ministry together. And so I want to thank you, Michelle, for that. I want to thank you for your honesty and the great chats we've been able to have through the years, whether it be on camp or just after CY or at a 6 p.m, and the way that you've been able to be honest and I've really appreciated that. I want to thank you for your dedication to kids, to see them grow, and what I love is in the rooms that you serve, you don't always get the glory, or you don't always get the fruit that some other departments do. You don't always see those breakthrough moments, but I know how much parents take delight in your presence in those rooms. I know how much your faith, just in the encouragement and the way you get alongside those kids, I know how much that shapes them. And so as someone who's done a lot of kids ministry in the past as well, I just want to thank you, because I know that speaks volumes into their lives, let alone the way that you've given to youth as well. You were always one to, I just got a message, so sorry about that. Not get distracted like I get distracted. I know you're always one to take on some of the more difficult youth, and I know that your group is huge at the moment, and I know we haven't had the complexity of having a guy in the group and trying to find his place as well, and oh gosh, you've been really adaptable. And maybe it's because you've worked with kids a lot, but you're always so flexible, and your willingness to continue to maintain true to what we're on about, the vision and the values, while being flexible, has been really cool when you've adapted and innovated as necessary. And I just want to thank you for that, Michelle. It's been great not only leading you as a pastor, but also working alongside you as a colleague. So I look forward to all the ways that God's going to continue to use you moving forward, and all the people that you're going to bless in the process. All right, next person is Mitch Rutherford. So Mitch, only you'll get this, and I know you didn't get a chocolate at the CY Leaders celebration, but I'm making up for it, right? Because I'm talking to you, okay? You have not forgotten. Mitch, I've loved having you in Huddle this year and last year as well, mate. You have such wisdom. You have such a gift of faith. And I love the fact that you're willing to step up and teach around relationships. And this is the thing, you give so much of yourself. I'm actually going to be catching up with you for dinner tonight, so I'll probably share this in person. But you give so much of yourself to everything that you do. I just want to acknowledge just how great you are. In terms of your willingness to step up and when you found your own, and I know that your time under Trent was really valuable and leading with him was really valuable, but I just want to say you just stepped into your own when Trent finished up and you were able to kind of step onto the vision team to take on camp directing. Like, these are not insignificant portfolios, but you just took them and you ran with them, and you really have a spiritual authority. I listen to every word you say. I love the way that you self-reflect. I love the way that you can help others reflect, and I really admire that. And we joke around about how much you've learnt from me, but I just want to let you know that I've learnt so much from you as well. I love the way that you pick up details that I miss, and they're often really important details. They're personal, and they're things that impact people. And when I've been running off, you've held me back times, not in a bad way, but in a great way, just to make sure I didn't miss the moment. And so thank you, Mitch, for your leadership, for your years of dedication, for your servant heart, serving under people, but also serving over people. Because whether you're serving under or over, you both ways you express such a humility in the way that you lead. And we also have a lot of fun too. We have a lot of laughs, and I love joking around with you. I continue to wish you and Brooke all the best as you continue that relationship as well. Mate, I just see great things in you. You're going to make a massive ministry impact, not only in Crossway, but also I truly believe within your workplace as well. And I'm excited for how that plays out. So well done, mate. All right, next on the radar is Nick Ensor. So as I mentioned about Cam, the Ensor clan is a good clan. And Nick, I just want to thank you for your leadership, for the way that you constantly put on my radar the importance of prayer, the importance of worship, and the importance of reaching out to others. I know this is only a small part of last year, but your willingness to gather people together around CYA and kind of say, hey, we need to make community and hospitality important. And you were the first to kind of run with that, I think was so cool for me to see. When you spoke at CYA and you just shared your heart, I was like, man, actually Nick has this teaching gift that I reckon you should tap into. There you go, there's your bit of challenge. I reckon you need to find greater opportunities to express your teaching because you've got something a real gift there as well. I've always admired the way that you were willing to embrace the prophetic. And as someone who has struggled with that in the past, and God seems to kind of turn it off and on at different points in time, I've always admired your willingness to pray at any given moment and kind of go, let's invite God into this. Or just to kind of say, hey, slow down. Maybe God, you would never say, slow down. You would just you'd kind of tilt your head and we'd look and we'd go, okay, Nick's telling us to just pause for a second. Because maybe God has something to say, and I've really admired that. I wouldn't know because I haven't been able to see the way that that's found expression in small groups so much, but I've got to believe that that's just kind of the core of who you are, and it's found expression in small group environments, and the boys are going to be the beneficiaries of that, not only in the moment but also in the future moving forward as they reflect upon all that God's been saying through you and through your life. I want to thank you for your commitment to self-betterment and your commitment to your own faith and your willingness to I love the fact that you were part of the faith work integration staff that Meeks did some training around as well, and just your sense of kind of going, mission is every day. Discipleship and following Jesus is every day. And so, Nick, I just want to say thank you for your leadership, for the way that you lead worship, the way that you lead group, the way that you lead prayer. Mate, you lead in so many different areas, CYA. You just have such a span of influence and you're one of these people that so many of our community look up to, and I don't know whether that intimidates you or you kind of like shush, but seriously, Nick, you're so valuable on the team, and so I obviously will miss you this year, but we've got Tim stepping in to take your small group, and so I just, as you have this year away, my hope is that your faith grows even more, and that you discover God more and more in the everyday. All right, I'm spending too long on each person. This has taken ages. I just keep looking at the time. I love sharing this kind of stuff, but I just realise it's going to be like hours long, legit. All right, next is Nick de Jong. Nick, I'm really glad that you joined the team. You've got this. Okay, here we go. I needed a little warm up. I'm really glad you're doing the team. This is the thing about you. You are such an encourager. Mate, you have encouraged me. I know that we've had many kind of catch-ups and things haven't always been easy through youth and whatnot, but even you just stepping into leadership this year, you have always been such an encourager to me. The way you encourage with such specificity is that demonstrates that it's so authentic and so true, and I really love that. I know that whenever I see you, I love the great handshakes and the kind of the handshake that becomes a hug, and I just know your love for Jesus and the way that finds expression when getting around your boys has been so great to witness this year. I know that it's going to be I kind of get this sense. I'm losing my words. I'm sorry. I feel like God has something fresh for you to embrace this year. And I don't exactly know what that is, but I feel like he's going to continue to grow you in leadership. I can't help but feel like some of your history, both good and the struggles, I feel like God's going to use that even more for you to be a voice into into the lives of the brokenhearted. And I'm not sure if you see that or you've had opportunity to do that yet, but I can't help but feel like God's going to use your story in order to speak hope and life into others. So I want to encourage you to be honest, to look for those opportunities, to step in, to be courageous and to speak into those lives, because you have a story to share and of God's faithfulness. And I really just hope that more and more people can be the beneficiaries and be the stewards of that story, because it doesn't just end with you sharing a story. Your story becomes their story, which becomes other people's story, and your influence of faith and your willingness to go into those spaces is going to be huge. So, mate, step into that unashamedly, because God wants to use that gift. I'm losing my voice. And it's been 22 minutes. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to grab a water. I might keep going. Next on the list is Nitty Matthew. Oh boy, that one could go for a while, couldn't it? We'll see how we go. But all right, if you're after this point, hold on. I'm still going. Alrighty, a new day and continuing the list. First up off the ranks is of course Nitty Matthew. Oh, Nitty. I love the fact that your nickname Nitty only really emerged in this last, 6 months, and yet it's so stuck, because I think that it just suits you so perfectly, and I know you hate that, but at the same time, I love it. Nitty, you have been obviously so instrumental in these last couple of years, particularly after going through the changes of staff and basically, we were kind of starting it fresh in many respects, and you've done such an incredible job of not only doing administration, bringing creative ideas, but there's a couple of things that you do so well. And number one is, in as much as I know sometimes you apologize for it, I love the fact that you bring that kind of prophetic edge to all that we do. You challenge the status quo, you challenge my crazy ideas at different points in time, and for good reason. And know that even though sometimes you probably feel a little intimidated asking the question, I just really have appreciated that you have been willing to step up. And something that I've seen in the last 2 years in particular is just your courage increase exponentially in such a good way. And so I want to encourage you to continue to be focused, continue to pour your heart into what you do, and continue to love those kids on the margins. You always have a voice for those guys on the margins. And I really love that. The other thing is, of course, you are heaps and heaps of fun. And so whether it's the Wednesday experience where you shattered some of your fears, or whether it's just all the practical jokes we play in the office, or even bringing Murray into the mix was all kinds of fun. And I just want to remind you, and you already know this because I say it all the time, but I just want to remind you that fun creates family. And you have played an instrumental part in us not only being staff, but actually being family in the office. And so never stop doing that. And I know you won't, because it's part of who you are, but just know how much I've appreciated that, appreciated working with you. And I hope that we can still talk a lot, even for me at a distance, because we've had some good times and they're going to continue. All right, next is Pat Tang. Pat, I remember when we were sitting in Rowville or somewhere around there, and we sat down and we had a chat about what it looked like for you to step into youth leadership. And I remember I didn't know you much at the time, but I got this overwhelming sense of this guy will be just a real rock within the leadership team at Surge at the time. And while, to be honest, we haven't been able to sit down and really have many great chats, what I love is that whenever I see you around your guys, it's really evident how much they appreciate you and they respect you. And I know that doing Med at the same time, it's not an easy thing to commit to youth and to commit to other people, but I just want to acknowledge and I really admire your self-sacrifice. You continue to give, you're willing to laugh, have a smile and get alongside the guys, to play sport with them, to have fun with them. And that kind of, you just got to know that makes such a difference. It really does. These guys need people like yourself, stable people, strong people alongside them. And when those times come, those rocky times, I know that you're going to be there for them and they're going to approach you because you've earned their respect. And so I just want to continue to encourage you, Pat, just continue to be that firm, strong pillar within that year level group. I just love the stability you bring to the ministry in that regard. So well done, mate. It's great to serve with you. All right, Rach Lim. Rach, it feels like we go back further than we probably do, but I think that's a good thing. And there's so many things I could say about you, Rach. Having journeyed with you really closely and having you part of Huddle as well has been amazing. But and you already know this too, but I love how you appreciate the everyday. You appreciate the moment, and you have this ability to recognize the weight and the significance of any moment. And I've already told you this, but I just think that is such an encouragement to so many. It causes people to stop and consider rather than rushing forward, but it also stops people from just going nowhere and invites them to step into something that is amazing when they take the time to look. And Rach, I really admire that quality in you. One of my proudest moments was when you got to speak at the 6 p.m. service. That was one of those things where it was like years in progress. You've always had an incredible teaching gift, an incredible way that the way that you teach flows out of your own story and your own faith. And I don't know whether you're wanting to get up there again, but I want to encourage you in whatever form it takes to use that teaching gift that God has clearly given you. You'll use it in psych, no doubt, but you'll also use it in other areas of ministry as well. And so just know, Rach, that you've made an investment not only in your girls and getting alongside them, but in other leaders, and you've also made an investment in me. And so I want to thank you for that. Ronnie, you're up next. Ronnie, I want to thank you for the way that you were also one of those key people in seeing Ignite and Surge transition and integrate together. For the way that you just give of yourself to boys. You're a quiet guy, but you also smile a lot. And that says something about the way that you can appreciate the moment and a way that you can get alongside people and make them feel comfortable and at ease very, very quickly. I also believe, Ronnie, that you're an incredible listener. I believe it because I've seen it. And I know that there was quite a few kind of quieter guys in your boys coming through, and I know they would have appreciated just the way that you led, the style that you led. I want to say thank you for not trying to be any other type of leader than who you are, and for leading out of your strengths. And I know also, and I know I love. Can I also say this? This is a side note. I love your like public service announcements on Facebook. Seriously, they've saved me a number of times, and I'm always like, "Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Ronnie." And so Ronnie, I just want to encourage you, particularly this year, as you step into that space of being more. I suppose more responsibility of leading other leaders. I just hope that you can acknowledge and realise just how much experience you bring to the table and how much investment you can make in other leaders. And so don't be afraid to speak, because your words do carry weight and they do carry power. And just that softness and the grace with which you communicate will break down barriers that other people may not be able to break down. So God's going to use you powerfully, mate. So keep hanging in there, keep leading strong. Sam Deverage, Dev. Mate, it's been funny. I remember when you were in, like, obviously leading you in youth, and you were with this guy who obviously knew how to play guitar, and you had the big afro, and you were really, really talented, but also a bit of a closed book. And it was tough to kind of break through and get you kind of vulnerable. You had that kind of James Wong-esque quality about you as well. But what I've really loved in these last couple of years, particularly as you've stepped into leadership and come on team and really taken a pivotal role in the worship team, is I love the fact that you've made your life more accessible. And that's going to serve you volumes as you continue to lead. You are excellent at what you do, Sammy D, but your accessibility is going to allow your life to be reproducible. People are going to see it, admire it, and also have the opportunity to imitate and replicate it. And so, Sam, I just want to say thank you for your leadership on the platform. Thank you for the way that you teach others, the way that you train them. You're not self-centered in kind of harboring and kind of clinging tightly to knowledge that only you have, but you're generous in sharing it. And I just want to thank you for that, because that's what we need in leaders. We need leaders who are willing to give of themselves, give so that other people can rise up and maybe even rise above us. And Sam, I know that your contribution, not only in worship, but in other areas of CY as well, and no doubt through your work as well, is going to be significant. Your influence is going to be significant. It's only going to increase more and more as time goes on. Just continue to wrestle with God and pursue Him. Your devotional life, may that be the kind of quality and the kind of core that fuels all that you say and do. And I know that God is, as He already is, using you powerfully, will continue to do so as time goes on. I see you as one of those guys who has the potential to lead for lots and lots of years. You could do a Dave Houghton on this group, and that is a really beautiful thing to be able to see in someone even now. So well done, mate. I don't have to scroll anymore because I'm getting to the lower part of the list. How cool is that? Great, eh? All right. Sam Lee. Sam, I've always seen you and admired you ever since basically TK introduced me to you at Ignite. You were always one of those guys who took initiative, and you do still take initiative. Even coming on staff and doing the tech side of things, production side of things, you always want to take initiative to step up and also to train others in how to do it. You, much like TK, have an incredible capacity to pull team together. And you guys must share a secret. I don't know whether you learned from TK or TK learned it from you, but you guys just pull team together and you make people feel so welcome and so invested in what you're doing. It's just phenomenal. And I don't know that secret. And I don't know. I tried to absorb it off TK, but I don't know what I picked up. So, but Sam, you've got that quality. You're generous, you're creative, and you listen, but you're also willing to lead. And that's a powerful combination of qualities. And I love the way that you've built the media team around you. And often the media team guys, they're not always the guys who, they're certainly not the guys who often take the spotlight. Sometimes there's the guys on the margins, and you bring them in and they feel safe and welcome. And some of those more troubling guys and the guys who cause us a little more chaos, I've seen you welcome them into the media team and give them significant work to do and have them actually, their character mature as a result of that. And that's not just because of opportunity, that's because of your leadership. And so I want to encourage you to continue to do that. It's a really critical part of CY and CY moving forward, is learning how to bring these guys in, and you do it with such generosity and hospitality in the way that you lead. So Sam, it's been great serving with you. let alone all the influence you had on integration, that kind of stuff, and camp as well. Mate, it's been a pleasure serving with you and serving alongside you as staff as well in these more recent years. All right, Sam Jiang. Sam, we haven't really been able to sit down much. Once again, you're one of those guys who came from Ignite, but you've always been so solid and so stable. I've appreciated the fact that, once again, you're a busy guy. Uni is full on and placement, but you continue to rock up. You continue to be present to your guys. And I love the way that we can have just what kind of feels like a superficial conversation, but at the same time, it's like there's always a depth to what you say, a depth to your questions. And while it's my bad, I haven't really pursued the conversation too much. I've always known that I can trust you and that you're reliable. And when you can trust someone and consider them reliable when you haven't had much to do with them, I can only explain that because of your presence and because of your character and the way that I've seen you live. And so obviously your actions and the way you get alongside youth is just a powerful thing. And so Sam, I want to thank you for your willingness to commit. Even when it's been tough and uni's been overwhelming even at times, you have stepped up and you've given. And I want to thank you for that. God will continue to use you powerfully moving forward, and not only in serving the youth, but also serving your peers, but also, I believe, serving in your work environment. May the character and some of the lessons that God teaches you within the CY environment around leadership and influence and facilitation, I just feel like God is kind of equipping you in this environment as well to have a greater influence within your ultimate work environment as well. And so just continue to seek after Him, and that's going to go real strong. So well done, mate. All right, Sharon. Sharon, I love the way that your girls are so comfortable with your presence. When I head down the hallway and I find you in either the Gen Centre cafe or whatever it might be, just the way that your girls seem so comfortable in sharing with you and sitting with you and being with you is a really powerful thing, because we know that young people need to feel safe and loved and comfortable in a good way, and your presence provides that. I want to thank you for the way that you also, with grace, call things out when they're not right. You've always been one of those people who shares feedback, but never with aggression. It's always a sense of, is this the way it's supposed to be? And just that ability to give feedback through witness rather than just through some sort of selfish motivation is a powerful gift that you bring to CY that extends beyond your leadership. And so in as much as we haven't had many sit downs, and I've trusted other people to have those sit downs with you, it's been great just to see that the fruit of that feedback, and also just the way that you've stirred this gentleness in your girls, and I know that that's going to produce great fruit in the future as well. And so Sharon, thank you for being on team. Thank you for giving as well, the way that you serve and are willing to step up and just serve, like after CY, to clean up, to pack up, to set up. You're always willing to put up your hand and say, I'm willing to help out. And that is such an incredible gift for the staff, but also for the team who gets kind of the ripple effect of that. And so my hope is that that influence and just that willingness to step up and sacrifice is the kind of thing that other people catch on to as well. And they'll see you do that, and they'll say, I'm in it as well. So thanks, Sharon, for all that you continue to give on the team. Shishang. It's been great seeing you lead those Year 7 girls this year with Danica, and I love the fact that you kind of came in, and I don't know whether you just kind of appeared nervous or whether you were actually nervous, but I just love the way that you catch people's attention in a group environment. And there's this kind of joy that you carry, which is such a beautiful thing. But when you sit down with your girls and you chat with them, it's like there's this joy, but also this weight and significance to your words that allows, and it kind of draws people in, but also kind of their ears prick up and they say, yeah, I'm gonna actually listen to what Shisheng has to say. And I know that this is the first year of many years of your influence in those girls, but I just want to say thank you for stepping in and stepping up. For being willing to kind of step into a group environment, even in whether it was intimidating or not, stepping into that environment and being willing to give so much. Once again, you have a servant heart, and I just want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for the joy you bring to conversations that operates not as that kind of like full-on, like in-your-face type joy. It's just this kind of this underscore, there you go, musical term, underscore of joy that you bring to any conversation or any room just as you enter it. And so whether or not you realise that that's the case, I want to thank you for it. I want to thank you for the way you throw yourself into games and you get alongside the youth in their busyness and activity, whether it's playing basketball or just kind of jumping and leading in that way. I just want you to know that that's a really great quality as well. We need more people to kind of put themselves out there, and Shisheng, you're one of the people who does that on a regular basis. So thank you for that as well. All right, Shiwei. Shiwei, you're hilarious. Like seriously, Shiwei, you're hilarious. I don't know how many of our conversations end up with poo stories. For some reason, that seems to be where you always go. I think it's a nurse thing. But Shiwei, we've had such great times, and it's been great. Whether we've been fishing and catching fish when we don't know how to fish on the charter boat, but like having fun that way, or just within the ministry environment. I love the way that you're not afraid to speak your mind, and that is so critical within a youth environment, because we don't want to get complacent, we don't want to get cozy, and we need voices like yours that kind of speak out and say, hey, what about this? Or what about this crazy idea? Or maybe things should be this way. And Shiwei, you're always willing to do that. Once again, I love the way that you have such an evangelical heart. You're constantly sharing stories with me about how you're essentially on mission within your workplace, and I love that. You were also part of that training that Megs was a part of, and I just love the fact that you take your faith so seriously. Jesus is at the tip of your lips, and you're ready to share your faith whenever the opportunity arises. And my hope is that that is not only a continuing reality for you, but actually you find a way, because it's not something that everyone carries, but that you find a way to reproduce that and actually stir that within the hearts of our wider team. I know I've learned a lot from you in that regard, not as a default evangelist. And I just feel like there's this opportunity for you, and I don't know what that looks like, but I feel like there's an opportunity for you to stir the evangelical kind of spirit within the community of CY, particularly as we get bigger and the temptation is to become more internally focused. I feel like you have the voice to be able to stir that evangelical looking out mentality in our community. And so don't be afraid to speak out. Please keep sharing your stories, Shiwei, and keep being just a lot of fun. Thanks for the way that you also just serve and you give, and over and above, you're constantly willing to give, and you've really led the way in that regard. And I know you've always been a really important person in Ignite, and really led those guys also through integration as well. And so you're going to miss your Shiwei and your fun around the foyer and just the fun conversations we have. But yeah, great times ahead. God's using you powerfully, and He's only going to use you more as time goes on. I'm clearly talking longer because my phone keeps turning off. All right, it's not turning on. So I'm going to take a break because we're at 20 minutes, and hopefully I'll be able to maybe finish the rest in the next one. We'll see how we go. All right, catch up. All right, here we are. This could be the final video piece. We'll see how we go. Could you believe I said that it would take 90 minutes? So what are we at, like 2.5 hours now? Gosh, I've got far too much to say. But here we go. Next on this is Shirin. Now, Shirin, we go way back. I remember visiting you at Monash Uni and having some great catch-ups, talking about just the nature of God and what it looks like to seek after Him with that kind of that mind. I want to thank you for the way that you have never been afraid to ask questions, for the way that you have rigorously sought after what it looks like to pursue God from an intellectual perspective, and for the way that you, with your quiet grace, have sown into your girls for all 6 years of youth. Seriously, Shireen, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing to take the girls all the way through. They are going to be remembering you. Your name will be the one that they remember when they think about their teenage years, going through those ups and downs, and for you to have been that stable force of faith and prayer and presence within their life is the best gift that you could have ever offered them. And we're going to see the fruit of them when their leadership, like a lot of them are stepping into leadership this year. And Shireen, they're going to carry that same grace that you poured into them over so many years. I want to thank you for your encouragement, the way that you've always been willing to pass on a really kind word to me. And you probably aren't aware, but there have been times when things have been really hard, but just the small word from you, just that little bit of encouragement has made such a difference in my life. And so thanks, Shireen, for just your commitment, for your willingness to give, and just the love that you clearly have for your girls, and also for CY generally. So we're going to miss not having you in the leadership team this year, but you've done so well, and I want to thank you, Shireen. Thanks for being one of those people. 6 years, we both did 6 years. It's pretty cool, and so we did that together, and so that's really cool. So thanks, Shireen, for all that you give. All right, Shuan, we've had some great times, and I've always enjoyed like laughing with you and joking around, but I also remember and some of the more significant moments, like I remember like when we had those moments on camp where we just sit in the hallways and youth are going crazy and youth are doing crazy things, and it's tough being a leader in those moments, but your willingness to be there, to give, the way that it breaks your heart when youth, I suppose, step out of what God intends for them, when they step out of that realm of life, is such an indicator of your compassion. And Shuan, you have such compassion for young people. You might not think that because you're kind of like, I just want to get things done, and I bring a firm word, but that firm word comes with compassion. And to be honest, when I think about those two qualities, that's exactly what Jesus had. He had compassion, but he wasn't afraid to bring the firm word. And just know that you imitate Jesus in your youth leadership. And maybe that's an intimidating prospect, but that's what you have done. And so I just want to thank you, Shuan, for the great conversations we've been able to have. Yeah, times where I've just been able to sit on the floor alongside you and just hopefully encourage you. But yeah, you have given so much, not only to the youth, but also to your peers in that cohort. Your willingness to step in and step up to take on the tough cases has just been a really incredible gift. And so thank you, Shuan, for your character. And I am convinced that even though obviously you won't be leading this year, I'm convinced that your influence into the lives of young people maybe isn't done. Either way, you'll be an influence. But I'm just going to sow that seed. All right, next is Sonia. Sonia, I want to thank you for, it's been great having you in some of my included clusters this year. You should get in a huddle. You'll get one of those soon, no doubt, if you're not already. But Sonia, I just want to thank you for the way that you have such a commitment to the Bible and to seeing the faith, genuine faith of our youth develop. You have this way of balancing both the importance of relationship, but also the importance of actually, hey, we need to encounter this stuff. People need to discover this truth about who Jesus is and what it looks like to live his way. And I've always admired that in the way that you group lead, but also in the way that you contribute to, like, say, devotional times at camp or just general discussions around how we can better see why. And I want to thank you for your commitment to that, because I know that building relationship for you isn't enough. You want to make sure that faith is stirred, and obviously you do that through unions, Christian union involvement, and that kind of stuff. But I just want to say thank you for bringing that same heart and approach to your CY leadership, because the youth are going to really benefit from that. It's this idea of I wear my faith on my sleeve. I'm completely unashamed of my faith, and I love that quality in your leadership, Sonia. You really just overflow with that. And so, thank you for what you've brought to your leadership, just by being yourself and being willing to continue to form your own spiritual development and allow the overflow of that to be expressed to your youth. So, thanks Sonia, for good times and for just your willingness to help the team in so many ways, far beyond the youth themselves. All right. Steph Lee. Steph, it's been awesome having you come on as a pastoral assistant this last, I want to say 6 months. Seriously, if you've been here less than 6 months, then I'm going to be like, wow, because it feels like you've been around the office so much longer than that. I want to thank you for the way that you were willing to, actually, it probably has been less than 6 months. Gosh. Anyway, that's all right. I'm getting distracted. I want to thank you for the way that you get over the details. You don't want anything to slip through the cracks. And maybe that was the reason you started off doing the admin side of things at CY. I always thought you had the potential to lead group right from the get-go. And I'm not sure whether taking Joyce's group this last kind of 6 months has confirmed that in you. I hope it has. But I know that your greatest contribution won't just be through administration and making sure that boxes are ticked, that events run smoothly and run really well and at a high, excellent quality. But your greatest contribution is going to be in speaking life over your peers and speaking life over youth. I still remember the great conversation we had at winter camp, and just the willingness for you to tap into the prophetic and that kind of stuff. I just feel like God wants to speak through you in terms of the prophetic over the lives of others. And so I want to encourage you, have courage in speaking those words. Remember, you just need to be faithful with the words that you feel like God's put on your heart. Allow other people to do that interpretation for themselves, but you be faithful with the encouragement that God wants to place on you in order for you to share and steward that with others. And so I want to encourage you, as you continue to move forward in your leadership, use that prophetic gift. Use it within the office environment, because we need that morale boost at times, but most certainly use it at CY. Regardless of what role you have, know that the prophetic doesn't discriminate. God wants to use you. And so thanks, Steph, for the great times, for the fun times in the office that we have, and there's going to be many more moving forward. But also I see this incredible potential in you that maybe you see, or maybe you don't yet, but I have confidence will be fully realised in these coming years. That's for sure. Steph Mazzei, the other Steph who jumped straight into admin team, Niddy's admin team. I know how much she appreciated you jumping into that team, seriously. And I know that you're going to continue to do some work in there as well. But Steph, I want to thank you for your willingness to step up and be a contributor to conversations around activities and events and how we can best represent CY well to the world. And you have this ability to see the big perspective. And from someone who does really well in administration and making sure that things get done and everything gets checked, that's actually a really great quality, because while some people kind of have this kind of laser focus, you have the ability to see the bigger picture as well. And while I know this will come into your second year of leadership, I've already seen leadership for many, many years, even for you as a youth. The number of times I've seen you in the auditorium sitting alongside someone who's been in pain or who's struggling, and you're just sitting there and you're praying for them and you're comforting them. You were leading far beyond when you're allowed to as a CY leader. And actually, even as I just am reminded of that, just the many conversations, actually, now I think about it, that we've had just around you asking the question, how do we best support this person who's going through pain? How do I get alongside them? What's my role in this? And Steph, I really admire that care and the compassion that you have for people and your willingness to get alongside them. And so just continue to do that. Yep, don't let your role dictate your care. And I know you won't allow that to take place. So just continue to be who you are and let the overflow of your compassion become a catalyst in people's lives, a healing force within people's lives at CY. All right, Steph Hill. Steph, it's been great journeying with you for so many years. It's not easy being a PK. But it's been really, really cool being able to see you go through the ups and downs for the many years, and obviously with Megs and I being close to Hilly in the end, we've kind of been a little bit more kind of in the loop in terms of some of that stuff, but it's just been so great to see you step up in leadership, in worship leadership, in small group leadership this year. It's just great. I love, often I'll come into the auditorium for worship rehearsal because, well, clearly I have no authority within that area, but I just love being a part of it. I think it gets me in the headspace. And to be able to kind of just chat with you within that environment, to see and for us to kind of share and notice things that could be improved or people who need encouragement, not because they're bad, but because they deserve encouragement, has been so great. I want to thank you, and I want to just acknowledge the way that you've grown in your worship leadership. Continue to put your weight on the front of your feet. It's good, do the handshake thing. It's important, the eye contact. I still remember the great times where I'm just like looking for the eye contact and being that smiling face in that front row. Despite the fact that I really know very little about worship leading, but it's been cool to be able to be part of that for you, for the great and honest conversations we've been able to have. Just continue to bring that almost prophetic edge. Continue to share words in your worship and share them with authority. You don't need to be timid about how you lead worship. You can lead it with strength because you have strength. And so, Steph, just continue to step up and step out. And I know that you'll continue to worship lead, but I kind of feel like some of the power behind your worship leading moving forward will be your ability to share stories of how God is at work within your life and how God is at work through your life. And so my challenge for you this year is for you to share stories of how God's at work. And obviously with your parents going over to Sea Life and you're kind of holding the hill fort in some respect, along with Josh, but holding the hill fort at Crossway, I'm really excited by how God's going to grow you as a result of that. This will be a new season, and you'll come into your own in many respects, even as you already have, but you'll come into your own in a new way because of these new circumstances. So continue to lead and to step up the way you have. Well done, Steph. It's been great serving with you. All right, Steve Dodson. I don't know if you, to be honest, I should call you Stephen, because I think every time I've called you Steve, it's always like, you always have this look in your face, like, don't call me Steve, but I still call you Steve. Sorry, man. Steve. Anyway, I'm going to call you Steve. Mate, I love the fact that you have this real kind of cool, calm demeanor, and then you bring the heat when you need to. And maybe it's in the form of a joke, but maybe, and it has in the past, and I've witnessed it, has been in the form of profound spiritual truth. I want to thank you for the way that you pray. You pray with vigor. And I know that you've had some really significant prayer moments beyond the Friday night at CY, whether it's been a camp environment or otherwise. But the way that you have gone into battle, okay, yeah, this is what it is. You've gone into battle for your boys. You've gone into battle for the spiritual well-being of not only your boys, but your peers. That has been such a gift, and you don't fully know the significance of the warfare that has taken place and your role within that, to be an advocate and to be a force, a stronghold, and a power in the lives of others because of your prayers. And so, Steve, I just want to thank you that while you have this cool, calm demeanor, I want to thank you that you can bring the heat. And you bring it in so many ways, and I love a good laugh with you. I love the fun that we have at Macca's and otherwise. I love the way that you've remained so committed to your boys. Obviously, they're in Year 12 this year. It's going to be a big year. Keep praying strong for these guys. I want to thank you for the way that, the way that you lead, for the character that you bring, and for the great conversations we've been able to have along the way. It's just been great. And so, Steve, just I don't know what your plans are after this year in terms of youth leadership, but you've got so much to offer. I'm really glad and blessed by the fact that God's provided you with work and this new work environment. And my encouragement for you, I feel like it's a bit of a pattern in some of these messages, but you guys shouldn't be surprised because I'm passionate about this. My heart would be that you find expression of your faith within your work and your work environment, And you're going to bring stories. I honestly believe that even within the environment that might be a bit kind of classically boring, accountancy and stuff, but you'll bring some of that flair. Gosh, Stephen Flair in the same sentence. No one thought that was coming. But you'll bring some of that flair, you'll bring the faith that comes with that, and my hope is that many people come to know who Jesus is or get a taste of who he is because of the life that you live and the way that you work and the way that you lead. And so, yeah, keep going strong, mate. Really proud of you and all that you've done and all that you've sown into these boys. I hope that you're seeing some of the fruit now of those lessons and of those years. All right. Tiff, you're one of those people who I feel like has been on team longer than you have, and maybe it's because you picked up an older year level, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like you've been on team longer than you have, but you've just had this way of just slipping right into team with such ease, and the way that you build relationships so quickly with your girls is evidence of how you've sown in, how you've been present, and how obviously the words you've spoken over them. And to be honest, I haven't had much opportunity to kind of see you in action, but I know that that your contribution has been really profound, particularly with that last year 11 group, which has been kind of a little bit ups and downs in terms of leaders shifting and changing, and it hasn't always been easy, but you really just slotted in there and were just such a stabilizing force and a much needed breath of fresh air for some of those other leaders in that year level. And so please don't underestimate the significance of what you've even achieved over this past 12 months. I'm encouraged and excited by how you're going to honour God through Med, and it was so lovely to be invited over to your house and to meet your parents and brother, all that not that long ago. But I just want to encourage you in the same way that you extend hospitality and you have extended hospitality to myself and to the youth. Just continue to leverage that gift. Step into other people's worlds, inspire them with your adventures. And I know that even when I look at your Instagram feed or Facebook posts, I'm like, man, how does Tiff do all that she does? And you inspire me to think broader. And so my hope is that in your leadership and in your words and your faith, you also inspire people to think broader, to be more generous in their understanding of who God is. And maybe that's giving themselves more credit as to how God sees them, or maybe it's giving others more credit and in order that they might express forgiveness or generosity or whatever that might look like. But Tiff, just know that you've been an incredible contributor to the team. I don't know what your plans are after these Year 12 girls graduate, but I hope that you kind of step back in. And I hope that you continue to speak into a fresh lot of youth as well, because you've got so much to offer in so many areas. And so it's just a delight having you on team. TK, you're up next. Mate, I could spend ages talking about how much I've appreciated working alongside you. We just work, and I remember with you coming in and with the whole Surge Ignite integration, with Scoobs moving on, with Nitty coming in, and we were kind of thrown together, and there was not much clarity around, in some respects, around our roles. We knew you were going to do some more worship stuff, and I was going to do some more kind of teaching side of things, but apart from that, we just kind of took what CY or Surge Ignite was at the time, and we're kind of like, all right, let's just make this work. And to be honest, mate, we've had so little conflict. You have a way of not making me frustrated, and that's pretty profound within a work environment. I love the fact that we can laugh together, we can pray together. Yes, we can play pranks together. You've become like a brother to me within that family that we call team at CY, and I want to thank you for your worship leadership, just the way that you bring your full heart. Like, there's full authenticity in the way that you worship. Like, you'll worship full on regardless of what congregation is or regardless of context. And I just want to thank you for that, because you've inspired me in my own worship and what it looks like to express myself in worship. And so I want to thank you for that on a personal level. I already mentioned this a couple of people back when I think I was talking about Sam Lee, but mate, you have this insane capacity to pull together team. I don't know how you do it. You did it in Ignite, and I'm like, what's your secret? And I don't know, you must be in a D4 space, but at some point, you gotta share that secret, because you pull together a team and people love you and they're so loyal to you so quickly. And I'm like, mate, you just do that. And so I just want to say, continue to run with that, as you basically step in to one of the I suppose into that, in some respects, primary kind of spiritual leadership of CY, along with Greg, but as the one who carries more of the story, particularly the story of integration and CY. I'm going to be really excited to see you step up in that. And I actually think that, I don't know if it's my place to say, but I think that God's really going to increase your leadership, and He's going to do profound things through you, and you're going to have influence in new spheres of Crossway as a result of these changing circumstances. So I love you, man. I love working with you. I'm going to miss you, and the great times we've had. But I'm excited for what God's got in store for you moving forward. Obviously, as a dad as well, and as a new kid comes, mate, you're just awesome, just awesome. I love seeing you FaceTime Ellie, and just kind of go, your commitment to her and commitment to her as a father. Says something about the way that you're going to father this community moving forward. So, yeah, so awesome to work alongside you, man. Thanks so much. All right, we're at 21 minutes, but I've only got 5 to go, so we're going to go. But I'm going to take a drink of water. With ice, apparently. All right. Tim Lee. Tim, I just want to... I love the way that you worship on the drums. And I've particularly seen it in these last... Oh, mate, I've got confused by when you went away and when you come back, so I don't want to overstate how long you've been back, but it feels like you've been back for a while. But I love the way that you've... It almost feels like you've changed over this last... I'll say year, but it's probably been longer than that. And I love the way that you worship on the drums. I can see you singing as you drum. I love the way that you have brought people on the worship team together. And you kind of snuck into the leadership team. Not that we wouldn't have wanted you, but you just kind of snuck in a little bit. At one point, I was kind of like, Tim's on team, awesome. And I want to thank you for the way that you first and foremost lead through your own expression of worship. And you do carry an authority within that area. I'm excited that you're taking on Nick Ensor's group this year in terms of group leading, mate. You're going to do wonders in that environment. I want to thank you for the fun that you have, that you're willing to be a little bit crazy. I think that resonates with me a little bit, where we have a bit of a laugh around sport and whatever kind of pranks are being pulled. It's just brilliant. You and Dunk, seriously, you're a bit of a combo when you guys get together. I don't quite know which way to look. So, mate, just continue to lead well. Continue to commit to people, to extend grace. I want to thank you that something I've really seen in more recent times is your willingness to have even greater patience than potentially you've had before, and that's just something that I really have appreciated about your growing character, and I know that God is going to use that grace and that patience, and what's going to do is it's actually going to grant you entry into conversations you wouldn't have otherwise been able to have. You would have missed them, but because of just that waiting process, you're going to have the capacity to speak deeply into people. You're going to love people well. You're going to lead people well. And I know you've got so much more to offer than just what you do on drums and even what you do on groups. You've got a great voice into CYA as well, and I think you've got a strategic mind as well, which is really, really cool. So, mate, just continue to give. It's great having you on team. I'm delighted that you're going to be there for some of the people I care about the most. So, mate, keep going strong. All right. Tim Thong. Tim, I want to thank you for your many years of commitment to Surge and CY. I was looking back at a video of Winter Camp, I want to say 2011, and I saw you on guitar there. You, mate, you've done so many years. You're up there with the Jayers and not quite the Dave Houghtons, but you're getting there. And mate, I want to say thank you for your commitment to worship, for bringing together that team. We've had a few leaders move through, and I know in the past you've done rosters and you've done whatever it takes to pull together a team. And to be honest, this is kind of secondhand because I haven't always been there for like TNTs or those training nights. But some of the best stories I've heard are the times from others have been the times when you've led devotions and you've taught about what worship is to you. And while I haven't been there to hear those teachings, I've seen the impact of those teachings through the lives of our other leaders. And so, Tim, I want to thank you not only for your incredible competency on guitar, and obviously you're doing songwriting, and like, I mean, and you're talented beyond what people even see, and we know that behind closed doors. But I want to thank you for not only the talent, but just for the way that you've sown into our leaders. You're a funny guy, mate. Your speeches, they just crack me up. I feel like there's so much of Tim Thong that most people don't see, but at the same time, it's what people don't always see that kind of adds this kind of undercurrent to CY. And so I want to thank you for the contributions you've made externally, but also just by almost, I want to say osmosis, by just being present. You stir up great culture within our ministry, and you have done so. And so, mate, I don't know how long you're sticking around, CY, or whether you're going for the record or whatnot, but mate, I just want to say thank you for all your years of sacrifice, even working full time. You give, you come, you rock up when you can, you serve, and I appreciate it so much, and there's many other people lining up to say that likewise. All right, Yikai. Yikai, I wanna thank you for the way that you've stood by your boys for many years, and just the way that you are always so happy and so pleasant. When I see you, we do a big handshake, and you're willing to share stories of what's going on in your life. And I want to say thank you for getting alongside those guys who perhaps are a little harder to get alongside. For the way that you share your wisdom within a group environment. And even in these more recent times where you've had lots of darts tournaments and that kind of stuff, I want to thank you for your willingness to rock up and to be present and to give all that you can, because your commitment to your boys has never been questioned. And I want to say thank you for like boys who have taken, say, like, you know, steps toward baptism and that type of stuff. Actually, to be honest, one of my favourite moments from you, Yikai, has been, we've had a couple of guys who have been part of CY or Surge at the time who have moved youth groups, but you have remained committed to their faith journey even though they've been going to another youth group. And your follow-up and your commitment to them, and that is so awesome. So incredible. And once again, it's that stuff that happens beyond the Friday night. It's something that I would love to see every leader do, but I know it's rare. But Yikai, you do it. And so you have your guys that you follow up, and they're your boys. And I just want to say thank you for your commitment to your boys. And so, mate, moving forward, I just am encouraged because once again, your years of commitment bring such strength to the ministry. There've been a number of you who have done many years. Like I want to say 4 or 5, this might be 5, I can't quite remember, but seriously, doing 4 or 5 years in ministry is just, it does so much for the culture, for the leadership, for the youth. And mate, you're one of those guys, so well done. Continue to give. All right, Yi Chen, I'm at 28 minutes, got 2 to go. This is a long one, but we're doing well. Yi Chen, mate, there's so much I could say about you as well. From all the way from you being a youth and being willing to clean and pack up and do the shipping container to do the youth cupboard, your servant heart is so profound, and so many people have benefited without even knowing that they've benefited from your servant heart. And so for the way that you joined Trent's team and just gave all that you could, the way that you invested in events for years and years and years, then you came on board and CY, and you're such a leader. You have been part of training, you are equipped, you have been, you speak with such wisdom for your age, mate, and you already know this because we've caught up and I've shared this with you. I want to say thank you for your willingness to step up, for your patience. You have earned so much respect, and I love having you in meetings, and I love the way you know the names of the kids, like even just having you know the names and the stories of the kids coming from grade 6 to year 7. Why? Because you've been part of Kids Space, and you give for 2 services on a Sunday, you give and give and give. And my hope is that in this whole process, God has stirred so much and has taught you so much in the process. And I know God has grown you in character and competency through this whole process and these many years. I want to say thank you and for stepping up and being willing to teach, mate. You're a great preacher. You are a person who knows what they're saying. Not only you don't just memorize it, you understand it. You understand it because you live it. And you're one of the few people who can communicate with very little notes. And I've seen you step up in your communication this year, mate. You are going gangbusters, and I really hope that you have many more opportunities to teach moving forward at CY. Thanks for the great laughs, for the grace, and my hope is just that you just continue to grow in those areas that we've already spoken about. That capacity to be vulnerable, to have fun, and really just continue to connect with youth and peers alike. It's so encouraging that when youth come up through the ranks, and as they have already come up through the ranks, when they're new to CY, they're not new to you. They always kind of go, I know who Yu Chen is. And it's a credit to all that you give and the amount that you've sown into these guys. You will see the ripple effects of faith for many, many years. And you're one of those guys who has invested for so many years already that you might be one of the people who sees fruit early, which can be rare in youth ministry. So, mate, just keep going strong. Continue to honour the vision that God's placed on your heart, and just love all that you've given. It's been so great to have you come alongside me in more recent years, and you're such an encouragement, and God's going to use you powerfully moving forward. So, well done, mate. And last but certainly not least, Zara Humphreys. Zara, I just have really appreciated, obviously, leading you through youth, as a youth person. Obviously, some of my great memories are obviously Operation Thailand, going to Thailand with you, and having so much fun, learning card tricks and shuffle tricks and whatnot, walking through the streets, prayer walking with you. It was awesome as we navigated our way through places we'd never been before. Zara, I want to thank you for the way that you're so welcoming. And that's really evident by the way the girls have just magnetised to your group this past year, and that they've come around you and they just genuinely love you even after just 12 months. And so, Zara, I just want to encourage you, just continue to step out. I want to say well done on doing stuff like Red Frogs. I love the fact that your view extends beyond your influence just at CY. You think about the way that you can have an impact and can stir hearts and make kingdom breakthrough within other areas as well. And that's just going to grow you further. It's going to be like an adrenaline shot to your own spiritual formation. And so, Zara, just continue to go strong. Thank you for your encouragement, for the laughs, for the joy that you bring. We need so much joy within our ministry because we're working with youth who are going through not always easy times, and just to have that spiritual fruit of joy, it's joy. It's reflective of the fact that you're living a life in the Spirit. And I just want to say I really admire that, Zara. I'm going to miss serving alongside you. I'm going to miss the fact that I only got to really see 1 year of your leadership, but once again, I know I'm going to hear the stories emerge, not only through CY, but also through wherever else you place your hand and your influence. And so keep going strong, keep asking great questions. I've loved being able to have good, rigorous conversations with you about faith matters, because you ask great questions. If you continue to be teachable in the way that you already are, I see you rising through the ranks of leadership and having influence far beyond your age very, very quickly. And so well done. Thank you for all that you give. All right. I think that was everyone. I think I got through everyone. If I missed you for whatever reason, I'm really sorry. My promise is that I'll send you a personal video if I missed you, but I think I got through everyone. I'm not going to finish with a sermon or anything like that, but I just want to say it has been an absolute pleasure to both lead over you as your pastor, but also lead alongside you as a pastor, as a friend, as a fellow youth leader. And I know that CY is only going to grow more and more moving forward. Continue to build relationship, continue to reflect the life of Jesus every single day in your life, and allow the overflow of that to be the best that you give in your leadership. Gonna miss you guys, and my hope is that when I come back and when I return and drop in and see you guys, that ultimately CY will always be about Jesus, and that the stories will emerge as a result of that, because as I've said before, This season that I've been able to pour into you guys and serve alongside you guys, this was never about me. It's always about God. And I know that you guys aren't going to forget that. So keep going strong. Keep bringing kingdom impact. Keep serving Jesus with that servant heart, with that sacrifice. And I look forward to seeing the fruit of that, all that God has in store. All right, Gavin out.